Good evening, everyone. I am Chris, joined once again with Dale, and we're here to talk about Joker, Folie à Deux. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. I never took French. Hopefully that's good enough. This is directed by Todd Phillips, and it is it's the sequel to 2019's Joker. Just saying that it came out in 2019 makes me feel incredibly old, because we went to see the original. I at the same cinema. I remember when we went. It does not feel that many years ago. But here we are.
Same movie,
yeah. The sequel that no one wanted, and somehow we got. Speaking of sequels that no one wanted, and somehow we're getting one, we got the trailer for Gladiator 2, which is coming out very soon. And that looks like the same fucking movie.
I don't like sequels for very good reason.
Yeah. We've got a few people in the comments right now. Everything in Middle Earth, how you doing, man? He says, I've not heard good things about this film. You have heard correctly. Without giving too much away, we'll go into the review in just a second. We got bath time as well. Right. We're both big Batman fans, and every new Batman film that comes out, we try and get to the cinema to see it, or we try and talk about it in some way. We still actually haven't seen the Penguin show, though, yet. We do need to watch that. But first things first, let's talk Joker. Let's wind the clocks back a few years to 2019 then, when we went to see Joker. It was a long time ago. I mean, that film made a shit ton of money off a very, very, very small budget. You could tell it was a film that, the director had an idea in mind. A lot of people say it rips off Martin Scorsese's movies like King of Comedy and other such films like that. But it landed, and it had an audience, and a lot of people went to see it. It made a lot of money. Oscar nominations. Did it have like 10 nominations or something? It was insane. What did you think to that original Joker movie? I think if we go in with our thoughts on that.
I think it was very good. I think it was a great psychological. I wouldn't say it hits thriller, because it was more. I don't know, but thriller's a weird genre in the sense of thriller's very thought-provoking, and it was. So I don't know. Would you class it as? I don't know. It's weird. Thriller's a hard one to define.
It's sort of a psychological thriller. No, yeah. I'd probably lump it into that category.
But it was a really good movie in that aspect. It did everything from making you wonder what's in his head, what's not, to seeing actual violence, to then just being a good movie. Having like the opening was, I remember it because he was running with the sign, wasn't he? And and he had he had the hair on as well, didn't he? And he was running with the sign, and it was quite comedic, similar to how this movie opens. We'll come on and say like comedic, kind of like different kind of style, and that was cool. So it had pretty much everything, and yeah, it was. The thing is as well, it was a good one-time watch. I think I watched the first one twice. But it's a good one-time watch. It's one of those things where you watch it and it's great, and it just holds up so well. Could have done without that last scene at the hospital, with the blood on his feet or whatever. It was, aside from that, because that was the one issue I had with it. It was a bit what was the scene before that? Was that with the car? Where he was on the car and like he puts a smile on his face.
Oh, towards the very
just
end.
Before the hospital scene.
Yes.
Yeah, because if it had ended sort of with that, it would have been cool. No sequel, no nothing, just leave it alone, and that's it, and that would have been cool. But yeah, though the first movie was just great in all aspects.
Yeah, lots of iconic scenes from that first movie. I'll agree with you. It's kind of like a one and done for me, though, and that's not to say that the original movie is bad or anything like that, but maybe there is something to be said that I never really went back and watched it multiple times. But I think the film by design is kind of like that. I don't think it's one that needs repeat viewings after repeat viewings. I think it's quite a thought-provoking movie. It touches on loads of themes, mental illness. And as you said, you've got the thriller aspect to it as well. I thought it was a really fun kind of bottle film of how we could do a Joker origin story.
And his character was great in the first one.
Yeah.
In this one, not so much.
Yeah, I mean, the whole growth of that first movie was that you really have Arthur Fleck, and we see glimpses into his past and how he's had this absolutely horrific upbringing, very isolated, just kind of like a nobody, really, wanting to be somebody and wanting to be noticed. And by the end of the movie, he gets that. He gets his moment on live TV at the Murray Show. Murray, I love how he kept saying that. And he becomes Joker, and it's an effective origin story. But then when we get to the ending and he became Joker, I was like, right, okay, we've got there. We've done it. Then when they announced a sequel, I was kind of wanting, okay, well, let's continue with the Joker then. So we had his rise to become Joker in that first movie. Let's see Joker. And in many ways, I guess going into the Joker Folie à Deux now, it kind of hits the factory reset button, I found, in a lot of ways. It's right back to Arthur Fleck. And to be honest, it repeats the same trajectory. It follows the same character journey of him learning to either let go of certain aspects of his past or to chase after that Joker persona again. It really feels like we're back to square one. Arthur Fleck, he's a nobody. He's getting pushed around. He's getting beaten up. And, you know, it feels, honestly, by the end of it, when you get to, you know, he wants to recapture that Joker aspect about himself again.
Nothing really happened, though, did it?
It's a film where a whole lot of nothing happens. Yeah.
It was, I think pretty much every scene was pointless. Like the Harley Quinn character was very pointless. You know, I think if we took her out of the movie, it would have turned out exactly the same.
I agree.
If we took out a certain scene, it would have turned out exactly the same. Every single thing was pointless and then led up to nothing. It wasn't like, okay, because for ages, like, the whole thing was the trial, and for ages I was like, okay, cool, so he's at the trial. Okay, cool, awesome. It took a while to get to it, but I was like, okay, cool, you know, it's gonna be quite a long movie. Sure. Got to the trial. Okay, cool, there's a trial, what's going on? Awesome. It's like, we're gonna come back tomorrow, and you're like, okay, maybe it's just quite a long trial, we're gonna get to something soon. And then 2 hours in, it's like, still a trial. Okay, cool. And it's like, it's just hammering on the same thing. And then bang, done, credits. And I was like, what? And I was like, so where's the movie?
Yeah.
Like, it was.
This film does, to me, feels very, very pretentious. It feels very up itself. Look at the fucking title of the movie. Joker Folie à Deux. You know, it feels like it's trying to be, you know, it's lauding itself as this very artsy-fartsy, very, you know, intellectual property, more so than what I think it actually ends up being by quite a bit. Some people could argue that maybe the first film had bits of that as well, where the Joker would break into interpretive dance and whatnot. I never really had that with the first movie, and I really appreciated what it was trying to do.
The thing is, when him breaking into interpretive dance and doing that, it's kind of like, with the musical segments in this, when they kind of sing to each other at the beginning, cool, once is fine, or maybe they do it occasionally. Yeah, that's them kind of, but it was just musical. It was like, where's the purpose in this? It became very, because they were kind of in that high-pitched, squeaky kind of, you know, singing to each other, like under their breath kind of thing. Because they were doing that, that's cool. But then they went off into musical, then did that again. It's like, so which one are we doing? Are we making it a musical, or are we making it kind of, they're doing that and it shows they're insane, which was cool. And then they just kind of just did it and went, well, we'll do that as well. Why not? And it just felt very like, do you know what you're trying to do? Or are you just trying to do everything? You're trying to be a bit different, but all you've done is made a movie that's pointless. And honestly, if you get in and watch halfway through the movie, then leave, you haven't missed anything. You've literally missed a whole lot of nothing. A couple of questions where you go, oh, this could have been this. It's like, yeah, but do you really care? No, not really. All right, cool, done.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah. This film just feels like it's bending over backwards to try and be artsy-fartsy and really intellectual than what it actually is. First and foremost, the runtime for this film is absolutely egregious. It's 140 minutes, just shy of 140 minutes, and it feels that as well. This is
3 hours.
Yeah, it felt like 3 hours. It kept every musical number it rolled around to. I thought, oh, for God's sake, wait, can we just move on? And honestly, it's a film that not a whole lot happens in it, really. I'd say it's kind of a film in two halves. The first half of the movie is Arthur Fleck in Arkham Asylum, and we see him sort of being mistreated by the guards and him trying to fit in. And there's some aspects of the film, we'll get into spoilers later, there's some aspects where it's kind of chasing after the stuff from the first movie, where is this actually really happening, or is this in his head? Is it as a figment of his imagination? Is it a coping strategy to get through certain things that are happening in prison? And then the second half of the movie is really a courtroom drama, although it's not a particularly entertaining or well done courtroom drama. It's just this courtroom scene's just going on and there's no intrigue. I don't really think it's particularly well written, and in many ways as well, I don't think it's particularly well acted. I think that Joaquin Phoenix, for the most part, is fantastic again as Arthur Fleck, but there are certain choices that he makes in the film, and I don't know if this was Joaquin Phoenix's decision to do it or whether it was the director. he puts on like an American. I know he's American, but he puts on this like deep Southern American drawl kind of thing when he's pretending to be a lawyer and he's being his own defense. Then he goes into kind of Cockney like, "You're right, Governor," kind of thing.
Yes.
I'm like, these are strange choices, and honestly, these really strange choices that really didn't feel like Joker to me at all. It was reminding me of Jared Leto's Joker, where, you know, you hear all these behind the scenes things where he was trying to get into the character and he was sending like dead animals to his cast members and like use condoms and stuff. And it's like, okay, well, what's that got to do with the Joker? And then you see this quote unquote thespian trying to do these things, you know, where he goes, "You won't want no beef." And he thinks it's amazing and it's actually terrible and abhorrent what we're watching. It was kind of getting into territory like that. There's some kind of like weird musical dream sequences in this. There's one where the Joker is in this like white tuxedo suit, and it reminded me of some of those dream sequences from Suicide Squad. Do you remember that bit where the Joker's dancing with Harley and they're in like the full costume from the comic book?
Yeah,
a little bit like that.
Except Lady Gaga was not an attractive Harley Quinn.
I like Lady Gaga. Okay,
her nose is big.
I've got a big nose. We have that in common.
But I'm not trying to bang you. There's a difference. Not I'm trying to bang Lady Gaga, but like I would. But the point is, she's got a big nose, and I wouldn't. So that's all I'm saying.
What do you think this movie was? So when the news came out that this was going to be a musical, they cast Harley Quinn as Lady Gaga. They cast Lady Gaga as Harley Quinn, and it was going to be a musical. What was running through your head at the time? Were you going, okay, well, this film's immediately dead on arrival, or do you think it still had a chance?
I didn't think it was immediately dead. I thought, okay, depends how they go with it, because it could be something very different. The thing about Joker in the first one was it was very different. It was very kind of like you didn't really know what was going to happen, and I thought, okay, they're going a different direction with it. But then also because it was Lady Gaga, I thought, I feel like they're just doing it because Lady Gaga's in it. And then you heard more about how it's not really musical, but there's musical things, and you're just like, you don't know what you want to do you?
Pick a lane.
Yeah, it's like you don't know what you're trying to do. And I'm all for sometimes movies and media not knowing what they want to do in terms of using different things and going, well, you've used a very adult joke here, but it's, you know, not aimed in that direction, or it's like you've used humor that would go over someone's head, or you've, you know, just used a kind of imagery from something that you like, but that doesn't fit in us. I'm all for that thing sometimes, because sometimes it is just, you know, you might be looking upon that and go, oh, that's cool. And you know, you're the only person that gets it, but you're like, that's kind of cool though. Mm-hmm. And so I'm all for that, because there's always an audience for some things. But sometimes it's like, if you're going to do things, just make sure you do them, or, you know, commit to something, or like, you know, if you're going to make it a musical, cool, make it a musical. But each piece of music, none of it influence the plot. None of it. One piece I did like though, and it is the one thing, where they're you know,
no spoilers, right?
Not yet.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know if you were gonna say something that was spoilers.
Well, not yet, or when?
No spoilers yet. Keep it vague.
Okay, yeah. So there's a point that I like. But there's a point. They do a thing, and then they're like, she's wearing like a yellow dress and stuff.
Yes.
And yeah. So that I did actually like that bit. I thought that was cool. Maybe it's because that's where Lady Gaga finally lets her singing flow, and it's really but aside from that, it's like you can have a movie with one musical number, it's fine. It's not a musical, but it's fine. You don't have to be a musical. Mm-hmm. You know, from most things, I mean, I love music, but I don't love musicals. It doesn't need to be a musical, but you can have, you know, a music segment, and it should have been that. But there was then another song and dance number that was like, honestly, if you ask me to pinpoint the song and dance, I don't really remember any, because it was so like, what was the point in that? Like, nothing enhanced the plot. It wasn't Beauty and the Beast, where it was like, be our guest and things happened. It was like, oh, cool, they did this. It was like, no, something happened, and then the next bit you went, oh, did that happen in his head? I don't know. And you're like, so why do it then? Mm-hmm. Because you've already done it. You know, it wasn't like you did one that you think, oh, maybe that was in his head. Maybe you're just like, but you've done something you already thought was in his head, and then he did something else, and you're like, so what? And then before you know it, 2 hours in, you're just like, where's the plot moved?
Yeah, you just don't care at that point. It was a
mess. It's hard to explain, because it's so. Honestly, I was left going, so what happened there? And then you'd say, oh, that happened because of this. I'm like, yeah, but why? It's like, I don't know. And that's it. And that's why I'm like, I don't get it. It's weird. It was weird.
So when the news came out that it was going to be a musical and Lady Gaga was cast, So I'm a huge Batman fan, and I like seeing different adaptations through the good and the bad. I like looking at the tapestry of adaptation.
Like Batman and Robin being really bad.
That's a great fucking movie for all the right reasons. But I like looking at sort of like the huge tapestry of the adaptations throughout the decades, throughout the years of this character, similar to James Bond, I suppose, as well. And Lady Gaga was announced. I was like, I've seen a few films with Lady Gaga in. I think Star is Born is probably the main one that I've seen her in. And she was fantastic in that. I thought she was a really good actress, showed a lot of a range of emotions in that film, as well as the vocal talent speaking for themselves. And when they announced her as Harley Quinn, I was like, I can totally see that. I'm up for that. Let's see what she's got. A lot of people were really negative straight away, like, oh my God, you're casting a pop star, Lady Gaga as Harley Quinn.
The thing is, she is good at what she does. Like, there's nothing wrong with her. It was played kind of like what you said. Anyone could have done it. It wasn't. I don't fault her performance at all. I fault the chemistry.
Well, I fault the chemistry. I think that's probably down to the director more than anything. And I fault the writing as well for her, because she doesn't really seem like she has a whole lot of substance in this film.
If she wasn't there, it would have turned out the same.
Yeah. She's kind of an ambiguous character, as I mentioned, that it plays on a lot of the sort of ideas from the first movie, where you don't really know what's actually happening and what's in his mind, and is he what's the word not hyperbolizing, exaggerating things. Like, so some things could be happening, but they're actually blown out more of proportion than they actually are happening. The thing is,
I get why they did that, because the first one did it, but you don't pieces, because we've already done that, and it's like, cool, you can have pieces, but we've already done that. We don't need the whole thing to be like that.
Yeah,
it was very, like you said, it's like we're doing the same thing. It's like, why would we do that?
But I was actually quite excited to see what Lady Gaga was going to bring to the table, and looking at past people that have been cast sort of like in the Batman universe, when Ben Affleck was cast, and I remember everyone was tearing it apart, saying, oh my God, Ben Affleck is Batman. I was like, let's give him a chance. Let's see what he can do. Same with Robert Pattinson. Oh, the guy from Twilight. I'm like, he's a really good actor. Let's see what he can do. I always like to give people the benefit of the doubt until I've at least seen a trailer or a couple of clips, or until I've actually seen the final film.
Did everyone say that about Thingy in '89?
Yes, Michael Keaton. There's everyone... this comedian playing him. Yeah. They said the same for Heath Ledger as well. So it is a thing that's very rampant. It's very prevalent in the Batman cinematic universe. Is a lot of people being negative initial casting choices, and a lot of the time, they're proven completely wrong. So I knew with Lady Gaga being cast and the type of film that the Joker was, and sort of my head going to where could, now that we're getting Harley Quinn in the sequel, where could the sequel go? I knew that she was going to be a very, very different cinematic Harley Quinn from what we get from Margot Robbie, and I was fine with that. I wanted to see a different take. And then the look of the character was released with her on the steps of the courtroom, with kind of minimalistic makeup, and she's in a red outfit, and I was like, okay, it fits the look of kind of how they make this
really
Joker and Harley look.
I've never been the hugest fan of Joker's look in this. I mean, I like it, I do, but it's if you were to go the looks, I actually preferred hers with the red dress and the minimal makeup. I liked hers. Joker's himself was okay, but I never fell in love with it. I just thought it was cool. But Harley's I did really like, and that was her look was really, really good.
Yeah. And then when they announced it was a musical, initially I went, oh, okay. I was taken aback by that decision a little bit, because I didn't feel like a musical would suit the kind of tone that the first movie set. But then I thought, well, there's got to be a reason for why they've chose to do this, other than the fact that they've just cast Lady Gaga, and maybe there's something written in her contract or a clause somewhere where she has to sing.
I thought it was just going to be very different.
Yeah, I thought this could go either way. This is honestly like a split 50-50 decision. This could either be an absolute fucking train wreck and tank the movie and ruin it, which in my opinion it did.
That's not the reason it was shit.
Well, it was one of the reasons. Or this could be really bold, visually dazzling, important, and push the film forward and be very, very different from the first films. Sometimes a sequel being completely different isn't always a bad thing. It can make it more
Texas
unique.
Chainsaw Massacre 2.
Exactly like Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. I love that movie. By the same director as well. She's great. And I was just trying to find the name of this song. Batman you know, Batman things that I have loved before, like the animated series and the Arkham games, have done musical numbers before in the films. There's a great scene in the animated series where Harley Quinn does a song and dance number, and she sings "Say That We're Say That We're Sweethearts Again." The Arkham games, you have the Joker singing "Only You," and then he has this big flamboyant musical number in Arkham Knight where I think he sings "I Can't Stop Laughing," and it's this big showy pyrotechnics, larger than life kind of thing. So I don't think, you know, the Joker and music, I think, do kind of go hand in hand. It depends how you handle it, and it depends if the music's good. Now, when they said that this is going to be a full-blown musical epic kind of harkening back to old school Hollywood musical films, I was thinking, okay, you're going with a visual style. A lot of people said that the first movie, as I mentioned, was kind of aping off stuff like Taxi Driver and King of Comedy, some of those older Scorsese movies. And maybe this one was taking its inspiration from a different batch of films, some other big, you know, bombastic Hollywood, old school Hollywood musicals. I think even Scorsese directed a musical as well. I forget the name of it now. I thought, okay, let's see what we do. And immediately as they started singing this, I thought, oh God, this is going to be bad. This is going to be bad. You had all the reviews coming out, reviewers that I trust and follow, all saying that the film's terrible. But what was really unique about this one is that the audience score and the critics score is pretty much on par with each other. I think it was like 32% last time I checked. It may have gone up since then. It may have dipped. And I was like, oh God, this is going to be bad. I'm worried about this now. And when I was watching it today, I wanted to go in with an open mind, because sometimes I do differ in opinion with critics that I watch. And as soon as they started singing, which I have to put that in inverted comments, I thought, this is going to be bad. And it's that talk singing where they're off key and there's no power behind their voice and they're not projecting. You mentioned it earlier, Lady Gaga is a phenomenal singer, and I just really don't think they showcase her talents well in the singing in this.
Except that one scene, which is really cool, and I do like that. I stand by that.
There's a couple where she does get to project and she does get to belt, and we hear that fantastic voice that I know she has, but Joaquin Phoenix, who isn't a singer at all, quite evidently when you watch this film, but even Lady Gaga, they're kind of off key because they're trying to sing and talk at the same time, and their voices are like croaky, and it's off key, and it doesn't work. And a lot of the times as well with a musical, to me, a good musical, there are some musicals that I like. A good musical allows the music to tell the story. It drives the story forward. It either allows a character to show emotion that they can't vocalize through words, and it can also further the plot. And a good musical will do both of those together. And it did neither. I was watching it. You could honestly cut out all of the musical segments of this film, and the film does not change at all. A lot of the times, the musical numbers are relatively short. They're kind of awkwardly sprinkled through the movie. The whole first part felt like we were just watching a normal film. And then the musical number hits about, oh God, what would you say, like 15, 20 minutes in? Yeah. And you're like, oh, okay, we're singing now. If I didn't know it was a musical before going in, that would have like really snapped me out of the movie. But a lot of the times the musical numbers aren't telling us or showing us anything that we don't already get from the movie surrounding it.
The first one's just him going, yay, essentially.
Yeah. It's utterly pointless. And I honestly think that this might be a stronger movie if you did remove the musical scenes, in all honesty.
Still nothing would have happened. It would have been pointless.
It would have still been pointless. It would still be bad, but I think it would be more palatable removing some of those scenes. And as I say, like, this is speaking from someone who actually does enjoy a good musical when they're done correctly and when they're done effectively. But yeah, it's just reaffirming stuff that we already know, and it feels like, I don't know, is it just there to drive a point home? We'll learn a revelation about Arthur's character, or he'll arrive at a certain emotional place in the film, or a sense of clarity, and we get it, and then he'll sing about, I know what I need to do now, and it's like, yeah, we just saw the last scene where we got that. So a lot of the times it felt like it was just completely superfluous to me.
Yeah, and the guy that was the judge looked like the guy from Up.
Yeah, he did.
And then the chick from the original, what was her name? Sophie? The one he was obsessed with.
Oh God, yeah.
Let
me try and find her name.
She looked similar to the girl that
Sophie. Yeah.
Yeah, she looked similar to the woman that was testifying before her, and but I don't like that they look similar.
Is it because they're both black?
I don't know, but no, they just look similar. I don't know why, and I think it's because they both had short hair. That's what it was. I don't know,
Right.
But I just remember watching that and being like, I don't know. Everything was just so like, why did this happen? And then why did it kind of felt like it happened again? The reason, like when things work, things need to stand out. It's like, it's the whole, I mean, this isn't necessarily always true and always, a rule to stick by, but it was George R.R. Martin that was just like, someone told him, when you create characters, like you never want to create characters whose names begin with the same letter because it gets confusing and stuff. And that was when he was like, well, I've got more than 26 characters, what do I do? So I say, I don't think it's a rule to stick by, but it's just an example of how, like, if you've got two similar characters, or they say they do two similar things, why put them one together and even in the same movie? Because they were both talking about the same thing and they were one after the other. It's like they were both female. They were both black females, yes. But like, it's like you could have had a dude talking about this and then you had her come back and talk about this. But it was one female talking about this and then she came on and said the same thing. And it was like, wait, didn't she just? No, she didn't just come on. You know what I mean? It just felt very, why are we doing the same thing all the time?
There's a lot of stuff in this movie that just doesn't need to be there. I'm honestly, I feel like, well, I am very negative on this film. I didn't like this film at all. In fact, I would say I think it is a bad movie.
Well, this is the thing as well. What about there was a guy that was dressed like him, but not even similar, exactly the same. And it's like, why did we just not like just have a little difference or something? Like, it just felt like the whole thing, or even like the stairwell in it. Why do we do the same one? Like, I get you trying with your imagery for that. I get it, but why don't we just have? It just all felt same.
Speaking of that stairway, well, I think it was the courtroom stairs, wasn't it? There is a scene that is in the trailer that isn't actually in this film, and it was the one that, out of all the musical numbers, I was kind of looking forward to the most. It's where you've got Lady Gaga and Joker at the top of the stairs, and they're both doing like the dancing, the kicking down the stairs either side of the staircase. As far as I remember, that's not in this movie. I didn't see that scene at all, unless I blanked out. But I'm pretty sure it wasn't in the movie.
I tried hard not to blank out.
I do think, though, similar to the first movie, the cinematography is great in this movie. The lighting in certain shots, even in some of the musical numbers, I really like the set design and the setting. There's a bit where they're, in one of the musical numbers, they're dancing on a rooftop and it says like Arkham Hotel or something in the background. I thought that looked very nice, and I thought they did capture the look of some of the old school Hollywood musicals in certain scenes like that. There's another musical number where they sing about like building a mountain or something, which, but how it looked, just in terms of the look of it, I thought it was quite effective. Some shots, well, one of my favorite shots, it was actually in the trailer, but I thought it was wonderful how they did it, was where they draw the lipstick on the glass and it's out of focus. And then he moves his head in.
Oh, I didn't like
and that. Then he smiles. I don't know. I thought that was a really cool shot.
Because again, it's kind of, we've already had it. We had it with the blood and the smile. We don't need another fucking, I don't know.
They do the blood smile again, don't they? Yeah. Harley Quinn does that in the movie.
It was just very, it should have been period blood. It would have made it. It would have made it more entertaining, to be fair. It would have been great. I did think that when she did it, to be fair.
Oh, no.
It could have been so much better.
This is what I have to put up with on a daily basis.
Well, hey, it could have, it would have enhanced it for me. It's like Steve Coogan enhanced it.
Steve Coogan's in it for like a couple of minutes and then he's just out of the movie.
I know. I really wanted more of him. I wanted him to die.
Oh.
Steve
Coogan?
Yeah, not as a person. Yeah. But remember what I said about when I like characters?
Yeah.
I have this weird vendetta against them. I'm like, I like you, right? That says something about my friends.
I already did this joke earlier, so it's going to be like really shit doing it again. But yeah, Steve Coogan, obviously, like Alan Partridge, it's impossible for me anyway to differentiate the two. So Alan Partridge is just there in the film. I was just like, no, stop getting Joker wrong. And it felt like they did get Joker wrong all the way through this.
But that's the annoying thing. He didn't have his British accent. He had some weird American accent, but maybe it's just because I know who he is, I could tell. But like some weird American accent, I was like, why is he just not British though? It's not like he was a significant character. If he played Jim Gordon, cool, I'd understand. It's like Gary Oldman playing, I mean, I know he lives in the States now and everything, but he played James Gordon, and he was American. He wouldn't have used his British voice. I get that. But Steve Cook, who did he play? Who did he like? What was the purpose? Did he need to be American? No. And the cops were Irish, and that I thought that was great. Brendan Gleeson was great, but like the cops being Irish, it was that very 30s kind of like that was cool. Why was Steve Coogan not British? That really annoyed me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with him not being British because, I mean, set in Gotham and whatnot, that's fine. But it's a very strange casting choice for a character that's really just unimportant. He does it like a television interview with Arthur Fleck in the movie, and that's it. And Steve Coogan's out of the movie. This film just reeks of, we're only making this because the first movie made over $1 billion. That's the reason why. The original movie was done on, what was the budget of the original film? It was very, very small. Between 55 and 70 million, and it made well over $1 billion.
55. So basically, just Gaga's and Joaquin Phoenix's salaries combined in this one.
Pretty much, yeah. So the budget's estimated anywhere between 190 to 200 million. On top of that, you got to think of marketing and everything like that, and that probably is on the small end of the budget. A ridiculous amount. It does not need to be that much, and the first film totally exemplified that. It was a very small, sort of like intimate piece. I felt that first Joker movie that did exactly what it needed to and did it effectively. Got a lot of people thinking, got a lot of people talking, and this is studio greed. This is just, let's fast track a sequel to this thing. And I don't know, maybe you could have done a sequel for this. I don't think you should have done, but I think that there are many ways that you could have gone about one.
Shouldn't have.
I was thinking, like, if you were to do, like, hate rewriting things, like, this is the one that we got. But I always thought, if you were going to do a sequel, Harley Quinn is a great way to go. It's a natural progression. We left Joker in Arkham Asylum at the end. But I was going to say, like, let's kind of have, like, a Harley origin story. Because one thing I've always wanted to see in live action, and the animated series did it fantastically, is the Dr. Harleen Quinzel being the psychiatrist and seeing Joker just breaking it down emotionally over the course of a film with, great chemistry and great writing and great direction behind it could be fantastic to watch. And I always envisioned a sequel to Joker could be something sort of in between One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest for the asylum setting and Silence of the Lambs, and have like a sort of Hannibal Lecter, Clarice Starling kind of thing.
Didn't they do that with the Halloween one? Long Halloween, where Calendar Man was like Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah. And yeah, you could have Joaquin Phoenix Joker in there, but have him be Joker. Don't bring him back down to Arthur Fleck. We had that character progression, and now this movie just feels like that whole first film's wasted, because we enter this movie and we're right back to Arthur Fleck. It feels like we're back to square one, and we wait 2.5 hours. Christ, not 2.5. Is it? Yeah, 2.5 hours, isn't it? Pretty much of just waiting to get back to Joker. And it's like, we ended the first movie. We got there at the end of the first movie, and now we're having to just play catch up, and we're having to wait and wait and wait. And honestly, you don't really get much Joker in this movie in the grand scheme of things, I don't think, which is a shame, I feel.
I thought we got too much, to be fair.
In this movie?
Yeah, I thought we got too much of everyone. It should have ended after 10 minutes. But no, I do. No, I do agree. We didn't get enough of him, but I don't think we got enough Harley character, but she wasn't needed. But I feel like if we got more of her, she might have been. We could have utilized better. But that's just me saying we should have just made the character different. So yeah, I don't think we got a whole lot of anyone. I don't think anyone really, like, who was the star of the movie, really, who felt like it.
I'd say that Arthur Fleck still feels like the star.
But in the sense of the star to the point where we saw enough of him, and like, or was it just kind of like, yeah, he was, but because no one else was. That's what I mean. Like, it did not feel like anyone really got any great scenes, really.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that a little bit. HLB disagrees with us, says, I don't get the outrage. The first one was already a different take on the formula, and the whole first movie was about him starting a movement. It lives on in the ending. I kind of dig it. I mean, the movement does, yeah, but even that was I always felt that was kind of contradictory as well, a little bit, in that first movie, in that it really starts out where he's just this mentally ill loner character, and he initially wants to go on TV to kill himself, but then ends up turning the gun on Murray. And then afterwards, he, during that Murray show, he goes on about, oh, it's society's problem and that he wants to be like a champion of the people and everything like that. And it felt like this really wasn't in his MO, and it feels like his motives really changed towards the end there, and that he's doing this because he feels like society has wronged him rather than this being like an internal vendetta that he has, that he's releasing. So the actual movement, I guess, checks out with that ending, and that there's this whole
There
group
wasn't really
of
much
people.
about the movement in this one.
Well, I mean, the courtrooms, that the kind of is.
Yeah,
there
but,
is a bit.
but there is, but it's not showcased. It's kind of like they're there, and then suddenly they're not anymore, and you're like, okay, and then it's not like it's because I think if it was all over the news, like because when they were in like the in the actual prison, no one it wasn't like it was just kind of there a little bit, and then it was like, okay, cool. It didn't feel like a movement that did anything. It felt like people kind of forgot about it. There was a couple people in the courtroom, and it was like, it didn't feel like it did as much as it should have done.
Yeah, it's like a group of edgelords, isn't it? Just kind of anarchy, down, power and passion. Yeah, exactly. So that continues over, but my main problem is Arthur's character is just reset. That's the problem, and it really does make that first movie just feel completely pointless, in that we spend so much time getting him to the point where he does snap and he does become Joker, and it's great, and that's his exuberant self. And then in this movie, we're right back to square one. He's back to Arthur Fleck. He's back to the malnourished and hunched and timid character. And then through Lady Gaga's character, I guess, through Harley Quinn, who could be a real character, it could all be a figment of his imagination, finds that inner courage again, finds that inner swagger and confidence to become Joker. It's like we're doing the same thing.
The thing about Harley Quinn was the first thing I hated. When they see each other and she's singing and they go past and they see each other and it's a glance, and then she's suddenly there, like in the trailer, the thing where she does that with her head, with the gun, right? Like you see in the trailer. That was not needed. I was like, why did she come out and do that? I was like, well, I got it that they saw each other and they thought something. We didn't need to visually see. Like, it felt so pointless.
Well, that's where I immediately thought, okay, so this character is entirely in his head then, because there was the woman who's not on trial, but testifies in this, who lived on the same floor as him in the first movie. He did that to her in the corridor, didn't he? And I thought, oh, okay, so she's doing it to him now. Yeah. This is all in his mind. But that's what I thought.
It just felt very like we didn't need that scene. It again would have turned out exactly the same way if we didn't have that scene. And it felt pointless. It was like they just walked past, they glanced at each other. That's all we needed. We needed to build up slowly, but it went straight to that. Then suddenly they had this weird chemistry, and suddenly there was things going on. It was like, we haven't built anything here. There's no foundation. There's just, we put the characters together. They had a chat, and it's like, oh yeah, I wanted to meet you, and it's like, why? We don't know. It felt very, and then you find out more about her and you're like, what's the point in that? There's a lot going wrong with it, but like that I could have done without that scene. There was also, I don't know, with her, just what I did like about her though is her whole, she got into the prison to meet him. I like that, and that's why I don't love the idea of her just fully being in his imagination, because I kind of liked what the character did. Then what she became was silly, like cutting her hair. Why? What was the point? So you cut your hair, and like, it's not like she had the same color hair as him, and it's like, oh, you dyed your hair. There'd be a bit of a relevance there. It was just like, she cut her hair, cool. Now, again, I've always been all for pointless things can happen, because, like, for instance, you can just, like, someone could just be walking down the street on the phone, hang up. You don't need to know who it is. It's just a conversation to have. I'm all for little pointless things, or, someone could just, do something. They could break their leg. It's like, oh, I broke my leg, I fell down the stairs. Like, it doesn't have to be. It's just general shit happens in life. Someone cuts their hair, but this was oh, you cut your hair. It's like, why? Like, you know what I mean? It's very sort of like just every single thing. I cannot think of a single thing that happened where I thought that's actually quite relevant and quite funny, except for the midget jokes. They were funny.
We did laugh at the midget jokes. We do have some dark sense of humor.
Yeah, what was it? It was the whole don't turn this place into a circus. And he looked at him and it's a bit late, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that was great. And then when he went, you made me feel small, I was like,
yeah.
It was good.
Honestly, and in the first movie as well, the joke that I laughed at the most was the midget, where he just murders that guy horrifically in front of him, and he says, oh, you can leave. And he runs to the door and he can't reach the latch on the door. And he says, like, Arthur, can you And he's like,
Yeah.
"Oh yeah, let me get that for you." That's him go. That was funny. That was great in the first movie.
I liked I like his acting as well. Like he's a great character. He does really well. He upset me a little bit the fact that he had a British accent and Steve Coogan didn't. But aside from that,
I did think mild spoiler with the midget character. What's his name? Puddles, Mr. Puddles. Do you get like a bit of an emotional scene where he says, "Why did you do this, Arthur? Because out of everyone at work, you were the only one who was ever nice to me and didn't pick on me or make fun of me." That was, I thought that was a nice thing. That was a nice bit of acting.
But this is the thing, he was really good. I applaud his before. He was really good, and he brought some great stuff to it. He wasn't in the movie much though. He didn't need to be, like, granted, but it was so like, it's like one of those things of what's a good example? A movie where you see something, you're like, oh, that's cool, and you're like, that was the only good bit. It felt like that, like it was quite up there, and then that stopped, and it was like, cool, that was the only bit I liked. Kind of like, okay, this is a different thing because Arkham Origins is a good game, but if you were to, you know, because I did play it, but it kept crashing, which is completely irrelevant to this whole thing. But the point is, it kept crashing, and then I watched a Let's Play, and it got to the, the Red Hood bit.
Yes, yeah.
And that was great. And then I thought, right, do I just keep watching a Let's Play, or do I just like try it again? Like, you know, it won't crash, whatever. But by that point, it's like that's the best bit. If you could, like, you might as well watch the rest. And it's kind of like that in the sense of that was literally the best bit, and the rest was just kind of, you know, it was, yeah.
Let's get to a few comments here, because we actually got some people in the comments who really enjoyed this one. Brinsley says, I actually didn't mind the movie, but it's just generally a sad story. Arthur has a depressing life. Both of them aren't films I'd want to rewatch again. I agree with that.
We've all got depressing lives, mate. We don't like...
Interesting question here. Bath Time says, if you did a double feature of them, do you think they'd flow well together?
No.
I just think this.
No.
I think this film is fundamentally flawed. The second one,
I think if you were talking about a double feature to flow well together, you'd have to cut out giant chunks, even giant chunks of the first one, and make it mold into, because it's very sort of, like you said, everything sort of happens and then it kind of goes back. You'd have to make it mold very differently. Maybe put pieces. You could maybe do something where pieces of this could be put into the first one and like split. Maybe something like that, because it is quite something's happened in his head, but not as a double.
Let's see. Dirty Sanchez says, "Hey fellas, quite shit face. So could I please get a TLDR movie shite?" I really didn't like this movie. I will never watch this movie again. I will never go out of my way to watch it again. To me, it just failed in all aspects. It failed as a sequel because I don't feel like it really moved the story on in any interesting place. I don't think it advanced the character of the Joker at all. In fact, I feel like it completely hit the reset button and regressed him back to Arthur Fleck. And it feels like for 2.5 hours, we're just treading water, getting us to pretty much exactly the same place where we ended the first movie. The courtroom drama stuff didn't really land for me. I do love a good courtroom drama. Battlestar Galactica had a fantastic one in, I believe, season 2 or season 3. They can be done well and they can be engaging. 12 Angry Men, for God's sake, one of my favorite films of all time, probably. One of the best screenplays out there, definitely, is engaging. And emotional, and this was just so paint by the numbers, and I don't think it was doing anything particularly effective. And also, I feel like it fails on the aspect of it being a musical, which is what they lauded it to be. I don't feel like the musical numbers are particularly show-stopping. I don't think they're sort of they capture the essence of what a musical should be, the style of one, the pacing of one as well. There are moments where you're just watching a normal film.
It was random as well. There was no like intervals of like, okay, cool, and the next song. It was like, oh, we're gonna get another song. No, oh, we did, okay. And then it was just, it felt random. It felt like they just threw him in because they went, oh, this would be cool. Like it's like they came in one day, like he just went, do you know what, guys, I've got a good idea, right? From here to here, because they'd already got the scene. They knew it went from here, then here. They went, oh, guys, I've got a good idea. Right, let's get them singing between here. For no reason whatsoever. That's what it felt like.
Yeah, it reminds me of La La Land, actually. That was a movie that professed to be a musical harkening back to old school cinema, and there are moments of it, and then for a huge part of the movie it just forgets that it's a musical, and the music numbers just stop, and then they come back again at the end, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, we're back to being a musical now. So it felt like, as I mentioned earlier, it couldn't pick a lane. It was like, just do a straight up sequel, regular movie, which it felt like. I was actually kind of digging the opening of this movie. I'm not going to lie, with him in Arkham Asylum and everything, and seeing the guards and his day to day and whatnot. I was kind of into it at that point, and then as soon as the music started, I was like, yeah, this really doesn't work. They took a gamble, and it just really didn't pay off. And I think it could have done, but I think they just needed to go all in. There was one musical number in this with the staging and the choreography where I was actually I was laughing to it, and I thought, this actually, if they'd have gone like full slapsticky with it, I think, and just embraced the chaotic nature of the Joker, I think it would have worked well. And it's one of the musical numbers in the courtroom, and he's got like the gavel, and he's like smacking the judge over the head with it, and then he's pulling out a gun, and he's just shooting someone as he's singing. And I was like, that's kind of the angle I wish they'd have gone with. Is this very cartoony, heightened, slapsticky Joker kind of thing.
Yeah, it felt like he wasn't the Joker in this. And I get in the first movie, he felt like that, but that's because he wasn't. He was turning into it, and it was a very different approach. But it felt like this was, again, like you said, it was reverting. There was no Joker. It was like, it just didn't, I don't know.
Yeah. Bath Time says, I've always liked the device in musicals as a way to reveal what someone feels or thinks but can't express. Probably comes from the chorus in Greek tragedies. Yeah, but here's the thing. They do express it in this movie.
And then
even
express
without,
it again
and
in
then
song.
express it again through music.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I wasn't too keen on some of the song choices in there. They feel very crowbarred in. And it was the way they sang it as well, I think. You really need to let singers project, and there's only really maybe one or two numbers where they let Lady Gaga do that.
The other thing about it is, when you go and see a musical, there are songs that stand out. You think that's going to be the single or whatever. Not a single one for this feels like that. Also, because they constantly played stuff like That's Life and shit over it, and it's like, and that's the standout song. That's not a song for the movie. That's just a standout song. Yeah. And when you do that, it takes away the musical numbers, because they do just become very forgettable, and not a single one is memorable. If they hadn't done that, there might have been more of a memorable one. Yeah. But it just shows how weak they are.
Well, I was really let down actually when I found out, I don't know whether it was like a couple of months before this came out, that it was going to be a jukebox musical. And I thought, oh, for God's sake, like, we can't even make an original musical now. Like, when they said we're going to do Joker 2 and it's going to be a musical, I thought, great, okay, let's see what you got. It's a bold strategy, Carton. Let's see if it pays off. And then it was just like, oh yeah, it's just going to be all songs that you've heard before. Like, it's a jukebox musical. I thought, maybe that could have been interesting, hearing new songs in a musical or something. But yeah, as I said, like, a good musical should sort of like delve into the inner minds of a character, or push the story on through music, or do both in a song. And this one just kind of reaffirms stuff that we've already seen. We'll have a scene where, I don't know, Joker might say, I'm just really lonely nowadays. I just feel really lonely, and like the world's out to get me. And then it will cut to a music number, and he'll be like, I feel lonely and the world is out to get me. I'm like, oh yeah.
We get that.
I got it. Every time they went into the songs, it just didn't work for me. And I just kind of sat back like, oh, for God's sake. So many musical numbers just sounded the same. It was the same monotone. Yeah, I'm kind of repeating myself now with everything, but just...
Yeah, there was a lot.
There was no style, or, there was no power behind the vocals for a musical to keep you interested, I don't think. Let's see. Mr. 35 Cap says, 1 out of 10. How bad? I need to.
With
watch
1
it
being
next
the worst,
weekend.
or 1 being?
I'm guessing 1's being the worst and 10's really,
Give
really
it a
good.
2.
Oh, that's quite low. I think I'd probably extend to maybe a 3. This film just really did nothing for me.
I'd give it 2 because it was so pointless, and it just felt like, well, there was no purpose in that. And the thing is, I hate sequels anyway, as you know, and it's just so... The thing I hate about sequels is the pointless sequels. If it's got a sequel coming up, or mystery behind it, but it didn't. It's like, the movie was done, cool. It's like, don't need a sequel. It's just fucking shit. Yeah,
I'd give it a 3 just based on there's a couple of really good performances in there. Like Joaquin Phoenix is great for the most part. There's some questionable decisions that he does for his performance of the Joker in the courtroom, but Still another standout performance physically as well, you know, dropping all that weight to look the way that he does, especially like some of the opening shots of him. You're thinking like, my God, it's kind of like Christian Bale in The Machinist kind of levels. So some of the performances, what's his name? Gleeson. What's his name?
Brendan Gleeson.
Brendan Gleeson's great in there. Some of the cinematography I really enjoyed as well. So some of those reasons I'd give it a 3 out of 10, but I don't feel like I could extend past that really.
Yeah,
I really didn't care for this. Brinsley's talking about both of the women you mentioned are in the first movie, by the way. Yeah, it's his counselor and his roommate, not roommate, but
they were just talking about the same
apartment.
shit in it. They were talking about the same shit, and they sat in the same place, and it was just that it was just so. Like, it's not just the fact they look the same, like I said, but it was just they spoke about the same shit. They were in the same place. They weren't far apart. It was just so, like, again, we've already done this. Why are we doing this again? You know?
Brinsley's going up there. He says, I'd rate it 7 out of 10.
Yeah, but he's thinking, like, 10 being the worst.
Yes, Bath Time, great example. Bath Time says feels very like a video game where you lose all your powers you got in the first game and have to do it again. That's great. That's a great comparison.
I fucking hate that in video games. You always have to lose your fucking powers in the second one. Why? Why do you have to lose your powers in the second one? And I get it, so you can learn them again. It's like, well, I don't need to fucking learn them. How about I learn some new ones?
Don't play the old God of War games.
But I hate I haven't played them since I was a fucking kid, but I fucking hate it because it's like you can't use magic again. Well, why the fuck not? I lost your powers. Well, how about you just give me new spells to learn? It's not. I fucking hate it. Not all the time, but I hate it.
Yeah. Judging by some of the comments here, I feel like this might be a very divisive film. I do think this is going to be very sort of split both ways. I think a lot of the reviews coming out are quite negative. It's so far I haven't seen your guys' opinions here are the first positive reviews that I've seen of this film, in all honesty. And I really went into this with an open mind because I was like, I don't want to try and be swayed by reviews that I've seen before. I stayed away from spoilers. I just kind of watched like a general overview of where people's opinions were at. But I thought, well, I like some musicals, so maybe I'll be won over by this. But regrettably, I really wasn't. Derpy Entertainment says, I'm be real, who cares if it's good or not? I wasn't a fan of the first movie as DC fan. I'm kind of glad it failed because I don't want Elseworld film. I wanted Joker cancelled and Reeves Batman. I'm interested to see where Reeves Batman goes. That was our first review on the channel, actually, going back to 2022. I think the first video on the channel was our review of the Batman. I enjoyed it at the time. I must admit, I think I've only done a one and done with that film. I don't think I've been back and rewatched it again.
Yeah, me neither.
So maybe that says something.
It's a slow burn. That's the thing. It's one of them, and it's like the first Joker. It's great, but I've watched it twice, but I'm not gonna really watch it again. You know, Sausage Party you won't watch again, but Sausage Party was a fun, very different movies, but it's you know it's fun for what it is, and it doesn't mean it's a bad movie.
Yeah,
you know.
There's a lot I liked about the world building of the Batman, and I think I'm more excited to see where it could lead to and the development of the Batman character and Bruce Wayne
but
character.
At this rate, it's going to lead to Robert Pattinson playing fucking Thomas Wayne, and so get on with it.
Dove says, I want everyone looking forward to the future of the DCU with James Gunn and Peter in charge. See, I don't know why we can't have both. I don't know why we can't have the Reeves Batman stuff going on and then another Batman in the main line of stuff.
I mean, neither. But the thing is, hasn't James Gunn started the DC unit, whatever he's fucking calling it, with some cartoon of something that no one cares about?
Yeah. Oh God, what is it?
I can't remember what it is, but yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Like, why start it like that? Why not start it with like, okay, let's go in with a bang? It's kind of like you want your first one to be you want your first one to be memorable, and then you want your realistically your second act to be really big, because it's like, if it calls for it, now we can have something really, really big. But you always want your first one to be great, because otherwise people aren't going to go, oh, that was made by this. It's like, cool, whatever. So it's like when they did fucking what's his name? Christopher Nolan. Don't know how I forgot that. But yeah, when they did Christopher Nolan's Batman, how the first one was great. Batman Begins, and it was amazing, and it included so many things we wanted to see. And then they saved the Joker and went, well, if there's call for it, like basically waited till that got an audience, and the next one was this big movie. Third one didn't happen, but you know what I mean. That's what we do, and it's just why are we starting so low? It doesn't make sense. Why are we starting with something no one cares about?
Yeah. Well, the first live action movie is going to be Superman. Well, what was it going to be called? Not Superman Legacy. What was it going to be called? Fucking hell! But they've changed the name now to Superman. It's just Superman now, which, you know, it's fine. Whatever.
What is this trait about having just calling things the same thing?
Halloween. I fucking hate it. I hate it so much. I hate it.
Scream
so,
5 was just
so
called
much.
Scream.
Yeah, God of War 2018 is just called God of War.
Yeah.
What else does? Yeah, everything. Fast and Furious, I think, did that on one of them. I think it was just called Fast and Furious. I'm like, this is like the fourth one.
Yeah, I know. It's so like, I get it for a remake or whatever, but it's not. Oh,
you had 2011's. A lot of horror films do it. 2011's The Thing prequel called itself just The Thing. So you have two films.
Well, the thing is, I know that, like, for instance, like Superman, again, it's like a remake. It's a completely different thing. But it's like, we've had that. It's still Superman. Just called, because the thing about superheroes, you can have any story of it. So call it something a little bit different. It just seems very, I don't know.
Honestly, you just need to follow Marvel's model. You need to do a Superman standalone.
No, you don't. Marvel's
shit. You need to do a Batman standalone.
Okay, you do in that sense. But...
Wonder Woman standalone, Green Lantern standalone. Set up all your heroes in their own movies, and then worry about the.
It's.
But DC is so late to the party, man. Like, come on, what are we doing?
Marvel's formula for a movie, fucking hate. I get it, but the structure for doing them bit by bit, cool. But no, they're just, Marvel shit.
Well, I think we're on the way out with comic book movies now. Saying that, though, the new Deadpool movie made over $1 billion, so maybe there is still an audience for comic book movies. Yeah, but Deadpool's a bit different, isn't it?
Deadpool's a bit different.
I feel like we're in the death throes. James Gunn's setting up the cinematic universe for, the next 10 plus years. And there's still going to be an audience for comic book movies at that point, because they have been dropping off. And I think that is to do with the quality of the film that's actually getting made, looking at you, Disney. We've got Doomsday. What is it? Avengers Doomsday coming out, where we've got Robert Downey Jr. returning, but he's playing Doctor Doom this time and not Tony Stark. And it's a mess. It's all a mess.
Everything seems to have shared universes as well these days, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everything needs to. Bath Time says, "Is Captain America the best example of a superhero film with a musical segment?" It's a really good point. That's probably my favorite moment in that film too, or one of. That's a really good film, actually, that first Captain America film. When I watched it, I had such a turnaround with that film. When I went to see it initially, I was like, oh, well, the character's boring. He's just a boring poster child superhero. How wrong I was, because I'm clamoring for more superheroes like Captain America now at this point.
Marvel shit.
It used to be pretty good.
The first Iron Man movie was shit. The first Hulk movie was... No, it's never been good. No, can't think of a single one.
Brinsley says, I think the musical moments helped. It would have been even more depressing otherwise, and it's Arthur's way of coping too. Well, I get that, but I just...
Yeah, but depressing movies are good. What's a really good depressing movie?
The first one didn't have any musical numbers, and people fucking loved that. And that was a depressing film.
There was a movie I watched years ago called The Whackness, right? Very depressing. I left that movie thinking, that was fucking depressing, but it was a good movie. You can have good depressing shit. It doesn't. Yeah, the thing is, the musical numbers did add liveliness to it, and I understood why things happened, but it was just too much, and it wasn't a musical. That's where it didn't hit any of the bases. If there was bits and they sang to each other, and I was like, cool, or if it was all a musical, but they didn't do either of that. They just had bits where they just, like I said, it felt random. It felt like they go, oh, do you know what? Got an idea. Let's put some music in there. It's like literally every night the director went home, smoked a load of weed, and just rang his cast up and just went, guys, got a brilliant idea, right? What if they sing about it? And they're like, why? It's like, yeah, but what if they sing? And that's literally what he could say. Yeah, but what if they sing? And it's like, okay, cool.
We've got Lady Gaga. Yeah. We've got Gaga in the movie. Let's have her sing.
And it's like, it's like no one thought to tell him, but we've covered that topic. It's like, yeah, but what if they sing about it? It's like, you're not hearing me. Yeah, but what if they say, oh, fuck, right, sure, whatever. And that's literally how production went. Yeah. That's what it felt like. And it was just weird.
Harley Quinn's character was really
pointless.
It's kind of all over the place in this movie for me. Yeah. So when we first meet her, she appears to be an inmate. And then we quickly find out that she's Joker's biggest fan. She mentions in the movie, there's slight spoilers here maybe, she mentions that she's sort of like a pyromaniac. She set fire to her parents' apartment block. and that I think did she say that she killed her parents as well in that fire? It's implied.
Yeah, no, I think
or she attempted to at least.
I think she said it.
We also get her name dropped. She says that, I think it's like in a paper when they try and escape, Harleen Quinzel. And I'm like, oh, okay, we're actually using the real name. We're using our superhero names. Excellent.
And then call her Lee.
And then they call her Lee throughout the rest of the movie. And then throughout the film, it's that kind of first movie thing where you don't really know what to believe or what to trust. Maybe she's not entirely truthful about the initial story that she came up with. But her character is really just a device, I would say, throughout which the Joker finds his confidence and is maybe toying with the fact of, does he just want to remain Arthur Fleck or does he want to become Joker again? And she's almost like the devil on his shoulder, I would say, whether it's in his head or whether she is actually there pushing him towards embracing the Joker.
Have you ever done the telephone can thing? So you have a can and a string.
A bit of string,
you have done that, right? She felt like doing that, but owning a telephone and being like, "But we've got a telephone." That's what she felt like. It felt so like it was needless. It was, and I didn't like that she was there because it was so, especially considering what happens at the end. I really don't like the fact that her character is this. Like, we could have just done it a different way. We didn't have to have her. Could have had Punchline. Women so much better. I'd have been so much happier. They
also make mention, I'm trying not to give too much away, but where I mentioned that her story might not check out, they mentioned that she is the daughter of a doctor and that she trained in psychiatry. Is that what it's called? Psychology, sorry. And I was thinking, maybe we'll actually get some of those scenes that I was hoping for. And there's a bit where they're sat behind like glass with each other and her demeanor seems very different from what we initially saw. And I was thinking, was she pretending to be an inmate in order to kind of entrap Joker or Arthur Fleck and gain his trust and get inside his mind? Are we actually doing some kind of thing? And we don't do any of that. They just mention, she trained in psychology and it doesn't come back up. I don't even know if Lee, Harleen Quinzel, is a real character in this film. Her placement throughout the course of the film feels very strange. People don't really draw much reference to her. She's kind of there in the background, and it's almost like it's kind of like the Zazie Beetz kind of thing in the first movie, how he had this really close relationship, an almost romantic relationship with the woman on his floor in his apartment. And then later on, I wish they would have kept this ambiguous in the first movie, but we get that shot that kind of declares, he's just sat on his own. He's going out on dates on his own and she's not actually there the whole time. I get that impression with Harley Quinn in this film. As I say, she's kind of the devil on his shoulder, pushing him towards embracing the Joker and this anarchic side of him, believing this is who you truly are. Maybe it's a retreat for him as well, some kind of like emotional warmth that someone actually does care about him, someone does actually love him. That could all be in his mind, because there's like a really creepy sex scene in this film. This is going into spoilers. There's parts where Harley Quinn says that she's actually pregnant, but then she's not. We don't even know if she's a real character. Is that just a way of him wanting to settle down and have a normal family life and be Arthur Fleck?
They could have done another Harley Quinn origin with this, which the movie would have to be very in the sense of there were so much court scenes that wouldn't happen. Like, there'd be loads of differences, but they could have had that Harley Quinn kind of in his head trying to make him embrace the Joker, and you could have found out that was all in Harley Quinn's head. It was her trying to make something of him, and she was actually obsessed with him, and then you found out it was literally her as an inmate, and she literally just started watching him for 10 seconds. But the movie was all based as like a 2-hour thing in her head. They could have done something with that, and that could have been kind of cool, and then maybe set up something in the future, but it again didn't go down any of that route either.
I think if you'd have removed, if Harley Quinn had only appeared in the crowd shots and in scenes with Arthur to reinforce that this could all be in his head. But then we have scenes where it cuts away from Arthur. So, because I always like the idea of him being an unreliable narrator kind of character.
What about where she's like with the lawyer?
Well, yeah, you have scenes like that where it cuts away. You have the scene where she's getting herself all dolled up with the makeup and going into the courtroom on her own and singing her own songs and everything. I was thinking, if you just had her in shots, you could imply that this is all fake. This is like a Shutter Island kind of situation. I think that would have been more effective. And the first film kind of fumbled some things like that too. If every single shot was just with Arthur and we just follow his story, but in that first movie we cut away where it cuts to the Waynes getting murdered, and it's like, well, how would Arthur be aware of this, that this is happening? We cut to a young Bruce Wayne kneeling over his dead parents in the alleyway. That felt like a studio decision, those kind of scenes in the first movie. And those particular scenes took away from it being that unreliable narrator kind of thing. I guess the equivalent in this is the whole Harley Quinn stuff. But it feels very confused. It feels very muddled, and they didn't really know what they wanted to do with that whole Harley Quinn character. I don't
feel like they knew what they wanted to do at all in this movie.
No.
It feels like they didn't even know how to make a movie. There was no beginning, middle, and end. There was just a string of events that you sat there after 2 hours going, has it started yet?
Yeah.
And that's what I thought. And then the credits rolled and I went, oh, okay.
Yeah.
What time is it? Oh, did that happen? Okay. I was thinking that maybe that was in my head. And I just, for some reason, was in a dream.
I felt like I was never going to leave the cinema. Yeah. And I've sat through much longer films than that before, but it's all about pacing. It's all about interest level and whatnot. Let's get to a few more comments. We've got a comment from Bath Timer who says, God of War is the absolute classic for it. I hated the remake solely off the fact he didn't shout Zeus.
I fucking hated the remake as well.
Or Ares all the time. That was so great in those old games.
Fucking hated the remake.
It's pretty good apart from that.
Shit. I hated it.
Brinsley regarding the Joker 2 says, I haven't seen any positive reviews. That's what I mean. Your guys' positive reviews tonight on the chat are the first ones that I've seen. Let's see. Bath Time says, I got the ending spoilt on Twitter when I was trying to find out United news. It seemed to be universally hated on there. Yeah, we'll get into the very, very specific spoiler stuff at a certain point, and I'll let you guys know. We're still trying to keep it as vague as we can at the moment. We got Carl says, evening guys, and then later says, Deadpool is like Shrek and will age poorly with the modern references. I don't think Shrek is aged fantastic. At all. Yeah, exactly. I think Shrek's fantastic.
I don't think Deadpool will age because
I don't know. I feel like Deadpool feels like a very sort of of the moment kind of humor.
Yeah, but not because it uses a Backstreet Boys song, and it's quite like. I get what you're saying, but I don't think it will age as badly as you might think. I don't know. I could be wrong. Maybe it's just because I've just watched the third one. I did really like it. I don't know, but yeah, Shrek. I don't think I watched. That scene at the dinner table with the whole like Shrek, Fiona, donkey. I watched that literally the other day. I don't know why it came into my head, but I was like, there's just so many little moments from Shrek that's just like you got to go back to.
Anon says, "What sword is that behind you?" That is from the Hobbit. That is Thorin's first sword that he has, which is Deathless. You see him using it in the Battle of Azanul-Bazar in the first Hobbit movie. That's Strider's sword, that one.
Cool. I like that. It's so basic. Cool. It's great.
Bath Time says, I'm not a huge superhero person, but with the DC films, the thing I really like is how much the world is changed by each film. Nothing feels inconsequential. I suppose it depends on which DC movies you're talking about, but maybe I think sometimes the Marvel films do that. Maybe not the modern ones. The new ones kind of forget between all the shows that they've got now, and the movies kind of forget what's actually happened and what crosses over. Brinsley says, I'd much rather watch films like this than other generic DC superhero movies, to be honest. I'm excited for James Gunn's Superman.
Well, that's the thing. Like at first, this movie was a nice change of pace, but this one just wasn't. But this type, I agree.
I guess with a DC movie,
DC's just darker. That's the thing. DC's always been dark, and I think DC has the chance to do different things. And what I'm really hoping for, because there was supposed to be this DC Dark, wasn't there? Which I don't think, I don't know, this it will completely just not come into fruition at all or anything. But like, it opens so many doors, and DC's got so much room to do things. Like we could have had a great Penguin, Goodfellas kind of movie. We could have had, like a Mad Hatter, weird, like the thing it's opened the doors of. You could have a great, and this is what the first Joker was. It wasn't a comic book movie. It was a great movie that was based on a comic book character. That's what you could have done with, like, say, Penguin. You could have had a great gangster movie that was based on the Penguin.
Well, now we've got a series that's apparently really fucking good.
Well,
this
is the thing.
And Sopranos and whatnot.
Exactly, and that's what we want. Or you could have had, like a horror movie, and it was based on Scarecrow or something. And it's like, DC has the opportunity to do those kind of things and not constantly be family friendly. And this is why I don't like Marvel as much, because it's so like, oh, we're going to do that because it's safe, it's family friendly, it's this, and everyone bangs on about it. I'm like, nah. But yeah, DC had so much opportunity to do that, and they just do not do it.
But do you think if we did peddle out loads of Batman villain films, like a Joker, sorry, not a Joker film, a Scarecrow movie, a Clayface movie, this movie, that movie, do you think it will kind of fall into the same pitfall that Sony are doing at the moment with all these Spider-Man villain movies? We've got a Venom trilogy, we've got Kraven the Hunter, we've got like Madam Web and whatnot.
Yeah, but the difference is with those, it's, you know,
don't you feel like you need Batman alongside those villains for the villains to be interesting, though?
Yes and no. So, for instance, when you've got Venom, it's a movie, it's Venom. When you've got like the Joker, it's a psychological thriller involving the Joker. That's it. You know, it's, you know, you could have a horror movie and it's like, this is for horror fans, it's a horror movie, and then be like, but do you know what, DC fans are gonna like, it's actually based on Scarecrow. Oh, okay, cool. And that's it. It's no relation to anything whatsoever. And you know, I think that can work. And if you pump out 10 or 11 of them, fair enough. It's going to get to a point where you think, well, where's Batman? It's not really, I get that. But when you've got 2 or 3, when you've done, like, you've got Joker, if Penguin, let's say you got with the, obviously, TV show, let's say then you do a Mad Hatter one where it's like a weird thriller, kidnap kind of, all that, like, you know, kind of thing. It's just kind of loosely based on that. And then you maybe do something completely different. You don't visit any Batman villains. And it's like, that kind of stuff will work. DC has the opportunity for being so different in so many aspects, but they're trying to be Marvel in so many ways and it doesn't work. So it's like, we'll try something different. They do it once, cool. They do it again, it doesn't work. It's like, oh my fucking God. Just.
I think we need to be careful with like throwing around the word, or DC is dark. Because I think that's one of the problems of the Snyderverse.
DC can be dark.
It can be mature, probably.
Exactly. It can be mature. It can be darker. You know, when you look at the Arkham series, that was a very dark kind of Batman. It felt like the animated series. It didn't feel loads different. It felt like the animated series, but it's been 20 years. We're now older, so it's a little bit edgier. It's a bit darker. It's got more blood. It's got more this, and that's all we need.
But that can work for the world of Batman. That doesn't work for the world of Superman. And this is the differentiation. And this is what I feel like the Snyderverse got wrong. It was like, right, we need to make Superman this dark, brooding, miserable, angsty, murderous motherfucker. Like,
no, I agree. But we can take it in a bit of a different direction, because Superman isn't Iron Man. Superman can still be dark, but it can be more dark in the sense of not dark and creepy, but maybe dark in the sense of, like, let's say you got Brainiac, right? And he's destroyed Krypton, and you can really go into stuff where, like, maybe I'm trying to explain, but like, you can see, like, when he destroys it, like, people burning away or dying or something, and you go, right, okay, and you can make it more mature. What I'm saying is DC has the ability to do that, where I don't think Marvel has always had as much. And just DC has the ability to go in different directions, because, like you said, it works with Batman, the dark and edgy and, you know, creepy kind of thing, and that's what the Snyderverse got wrong. And that's where it will fail, because it's just trying to make everything like that. It's like, no, it has the ability to make everything so different, and that's why I love DC, because every superhero is completely different, and that's what makes it work. You know, and then you got the ability to make the Justice League kind of like the Avengers, but just adult, you know, kind of like the boys. You've got the, maybe very different, but you get what I mean, like a very something where it's superheroes and it's just different. And then you've got Darkseid, and you're like, okay, and he's not just like Thanos, he is someone that's like, I saw what he did, just kill someone on screen, cool, amazing, or something like that. And you've got the ability to do that, and we're not utilizing it.
Well, I know I've seen rumors for the new Superman film coming out that they exist in a world of superheroes. You got like Green Lantern and Hawk Girl and whatnot, but like the boys, these murder everyone, and they're all like pretty incompetent at what they do. But then Superman comes along and he proves to them that we need to be better than this, and we can't kill, and we need to be good. And then by the end of the movie, they all rally behind him, and he's kind of like the poster child. That's the rumors that I've heard for what the story is of this new one, which feels a bit too meta for me, because it feels like Zack Snyder had all the Justice League just murdering everyone left, right, and center. We need to be better than that. It feels a little bit too on the nose.
Sounds like an Adam Sandler movie. He's a character, he's a bit bad, and then at the end he's good at the end. It sounds a bit like that. I think one aspect that'd be good is, you know, the Suicide Squad game. That as a plot for a movie or a string of movies could be good, with Brainiac brainwashing him. If you want to start like that, cool. And then we, you know, but that's not what they're going to do.
Yeah, no. We'll
Also, why are we starting in a universe we've already got established superheroes? Why are we starting there?
probably this is the thing. Like once films have been rebooted so many times, this kind of pisses me off because I really disagree with that. Every Batman thing that comes out, everyone goes, "Oh, we don't need to see the Waynes get murdered. We don't need an origin story because we all know how Batman became Batman." It's like Spider-Man. Oh, we don't need to see Uncle Ben dying because we know how he became Spider-Man. I'm like, we do because we've had films in our lifetime that have showed us this. But every new superhero film that come out will be a new generation's first look at that character. And I think it's really important, stuff like that. Even if it isn't necessarily shown, but I feel like it needs to be referenced in the movie. People just kind of roll their eyes, go like, oh, I've lived long enough to see however many different versions of Batman show the death of the Waynes. But I think it's an integral part of the character, personally.
I agree. But I only care about myself, so I don't like. If you ain't seen it, you ain't seen it. I don't care.
I don't feel like every movie, say for example, needs to be a Batman Begins. Every time we reboot Batman, we need another origin story to show his whole training and everything like that. If you want to do like an early year Batman, that's fine. And even with this new film, The Batman, we open with him being Batman, but he's still very green. His in like year 2, I think they say he is at this point. But I'm fine with Brave and the Bold coming out, and we've had a Batman who's already proficient, and there he is on screen. I'm fine with that. We've got Kareem R, who says the movie was pointless. I agree with you. It really was. I think a lot of people in our screen were kind of let down by it. I could hear there was 2 women sat next to you that were kind of getting quite uppity during some of the musical numbers and the singing. I heard them. I don't know if you could hear them.
I only noticed them when the sex scene went, "Is that it?"
Oh,
that's what I heard them say, and I was like, that's funny.
It is a 3-pump chump, but he would be. Let's have a look. Anon says, I can't think of any superhero movies that warrant a second viewing, unlike The Lord of the Rings that has infinite rewatchability.
Superman. The original Superman.
The original Superman, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy, specifically 1 and 2, but
Batman, 89.
Yeah, The Dark Knight, you could argue as well. Maybe Batman Begins. Comic book or superhero movies. I quite like Watchmen, but I wouldn't watch that all the time.
I wouldn't give it a second watch. I think that's quite.
Yeah, it's.
The thing about Watchmen is quite a slow, but the comic is very slow.
Yeah,
it's very, very slow. I would say. Yeah, I would say you can watch them again because they're exciting movies. They're not too.
Some of the X-Men films I've watched a bunch of times. X-Men 2 specifically, Days of Future Past, I really enjoyed.
We don't talk about X-Men. It's Marvel. Do you know what? It's good superhero movie. That's good.
Bath Time says, superhero movie. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I like that one. The Penguin TV show is really good, and it is a bit like what you described. Bath Time, real quick, because we haven't watched it yet. Do you think it warrants a weekly live stream based on each episode, or do you think we'll get away with just doing watching all the episodes and then talking about it as a whole, or do you think it would work to do weekly reviews? Let me know what you think.
I'm hoping it is good because I like Colin Farrell's look as the Penguin.
The makeup's phenomenal. Yeah, really good.
He doesn't have a cigar, which is annoying considering Colin Farrell also wanted one. He was like, "Why are you not going to give me one?" I thought that was a bit weird, but if we can let that. The thing about that is, it says that alone. It might sound petty, but that kind of thing says to me, I wonder what it's going to be like. So if they're not even going to let you have a cigar, it's like, so what are we going to do? Like, it does say that to me, but I have only heard good things, so it might be good.
Brinsley says Requiem for a Dream is another example of a great movie that I don't want to rewatch. Very, very depressing.
Yeah, that's another movie I thought of. Yes.
Incredibly well edited film. Actually,
Jared Leto. That's the one I told you.
Oh yes.
When I told you about that one, what's that movie? Jared Leto, and you went, "Don't know," and I went, "Still got the drugs in it." That one.
I was. Oh, what's that other one? Dallas Buyers Club. I thought it was that one because he's in that, isn't he? That's about drugs.
What's that movie with the Thing?
The Thing.
Not X-Men, no.
Fantastic Four.
That's the not Fantastic Four. Fucking what's the thing that happens with the bag with the weed? Johnny Depp.
The bag and the weed.
Yeah, Johnny Depp. He sells weed. He's got long hair.
Oh God, I can't.
Blow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Don't know why that came to mind, but that's a good movie.
Brinsley says Superman can still be dark, but I want him to give people hope. They really nailed that with Cap in the MCU. Yeah,
The thing about
100%.
the Superman versus Batman versus Superman thing is they were both dark, and it's pointless. It again felt very not as pointless as this. It wasn't pointless like that, but it felt very like. But you've got two dark superheroes, and then there was a whole like because it was even the scene with Superman being like, "I didn't kill those people," and it's like it should be Batman saying that, and it should be Anyway.
Anon says the Batman is anti-white racist with that white privileged assholes line. Yeah, I really fucking hated that line. They could have dropped that. They didn't need that.
Which bit?
In the Batman, I think it's Catwoman's talking about people in the Iceberg Lounge, I think. And she calls them white privileged assholes. I'm like, you didn't need to bring race into that at all. You could have just like had privileged assholes. You didn't need to throw that in there. They made it a thing about a thing.
Yeah, but her scene as Catwoman was amazing. So yeah.
Bath Time says, I'm not sure you can do weekly reviews on it, to be honest. It's a simple story and it's great, but it reminds me of Breaking Bad in a way that it doesn't build out the world each episode. I do the first 3 in one go. Yeah, that's what we were kind of thinking. But at that point, because this is a very busy week for reviews, and even next week's going to be very busy. We've got Disney review on Monday. We've got Return of the Jedi on Tuesday. Got Rings of Power at the end of the week. So it's going to be another packed week of streams. And then by that point, I think they're probably on episode 4 or 5 of The Penguin of an 8-episode series. So by that point, I don't know, it's probably worth just waiting it out and then watching them all and reviewing them all. But yeah, let's talk about some minor spoilers then. Spoilers. We can talk about the ending. So
spoilers.
You've kind of got our initial opinions on the film by this point. We both didn't really like it at all, really, it being a pointless sequel. But there are some spoilers that we kind of want to address and want to talk about, and whether we liked them or whether we didn't. So, warning, if you haven't seen Joker Folie and Deux and you want to watch it, go.
Well, you said warning.
I was going to say, go and watch it and then come back because we're going to go into spoilers.
Well, you just said before that spoiler, so I went, yeah.
Hell, straight in with that one.
Well, let's talk about that one.
Okay. Do you want to say it again?
Well, yeah. So, yeah, the end where he gets stabbed by like the real Joker or whatever you want to call it. The reason I didn't like it for a couple of reasons. One, it was one of those, because we talked about before when the first movie came out, what if it's kind of a movement and then it inspires the real Joker you kind of see at the end? We spoke about that and you were just, oh, that'd be awful. And I thought about it for a bit and I was like, oh, I wonder how that would turn out, because, you know, that's essentially what happens in this, essentially. Yeah. But it was also because the whole thing was what's in his head, what's not. I knew it was, as soon as it happened, I was like, this is the end. But at the same time, I was like, I wouldn't be surprised if like it just flashes to, you know, he didn't die and he was just being told a joke, then he walks off or something. And I was like, well, what could happen? So it was also very kind of like, okay, you kind of putting someone in there as like the proper Joker, but you've showcased it with the smile. Cool. But that's all you've done. And it felt like, so what did I watch? What happened? It was just, the whole thing was just let on by confusion. Kind of like in Final Fantasy VII Remake when Aerith dies again, obviously because it's remake, she's going to die in the same one. But they put in so much confusion with, they long it out. Then there's a whole, she opens her eyes and then she's over here because it's like it might be in his head. And it's like, why are we longing it out so much, right? She died, cool. That was what happened in the original. The fact that we've longed it out, it makes you go, oh, but is she dead? Is it this? Is it that? And it's like, no, stop it. You've done something, just do that. And that it makes it more dramatic. The less is more.
Yeah.
You know, it's that less is more thing. If they didn't have so much of the whole what's in his head, what's not, it might have been a bit more like, okay, I see what you did there. And you kind of, you appreciate it, but you didn't. It ended. And I went, eh? It just, there was no emotional impact. When you see a death scene, you want it to be emotional. That's why I love my favorite characters dying, because I want to just see them like, oh no, it's so sad.
You're George R. R. Martin.
Yeah, and it's great. But there was none of that. It was like, cool. Did he die? Yeah, you were left. I was left wondering, like, so did he die? Yeah, I'm sure he did, but did he? Okay, the screen's black.
Or is this a symbolic death, and it's actually the death of Arthur Fleck, and the Joker is alive and well?
And that's fine having these symbolic things, and that's great, and you can leave it on that going, well, you're not supposed to know what happens. but it didn't feel like it.
No,
It felt
feels
like
pretty
you go
conclusive.
in, yeah, not like it didn't feel like you go in. Oh, I want to know what happens. You're not supposed to know. It just felt like, well, no, I'm just annoyed that I don't know because you just confused me. Just fucking tell me what's going on, mate. Like that's what it felt like. It was. This movie angers me.
Well, yeah, so we've got Soundwave in the comments says Todd Phillips has always said that the Joker from the first movie would never grow into the Joker that battles Batman. Not saying I agree with the choice, but it's consistent throughout. Well, yeah, just in terms of the age of the characters as well. I mean, how old is Joaquin Phoenix? Let me just double check because I think he's getting up there
50,
now in terms of age.
49,
it's always 49, yeah. And
thing is, Joker's always supposed to be meant to be that age anyway. He's always supposed to be.
He is, but also Batman's meant to be the same age as him, really, right? Like
Batman's always supposed to be a bit younger, isn't he? Because Batman's like in his 20s, he's athletic. He's Joker's always, because the thing is, you got to think as well. Remember the 89 with Jack Nicholson?
Yeah.
Joker's always a little bit older, like, but it's not the age gap that's in this.
No.
But it's always a little bit sort of because the Joker we see at the end of this, that age gap kind of makes sense because he's like what 29, I'd say.
That's more, yeah.
And then even as a little kid, so when he's in his 20s, yeah, it does kind of make sense there.
Yeah. Brinsley says, I mean, he was on death row anyway, so was going to die at some point. Well, yeah, he's found guilty at the very end, isn't he? Yes, so I guess he would have been at that point. Yeah, so the thing with it inspired to me, just throwing the actual real Joker in at the end, I guess, is what we're meant to infer, felt so tacked on and so completely pointless. This is this movie's equivalent of the Waynes getting gunned down at the end of the Joker. I didn't hate the Waynes thing in the first movie because at least, you know, Thomas Wayne is a part of the plot. And it does kind of cap it off, especially when it cuts to the hospital at the end and he says, I was just thinking of a joke. And then it cuts to a young Bruce Wayne over his dead parents. I'm like, oh, okay, you're doing something with this. This just felt so, yeah. So how it's framed, he goes in and this guy starts telling him a joke. And I thought, oh, okay, so he's going to get stabbed now. He's going to get killed now then. They mentioned that he's a psychopath. You know, what does one psychopath say to an old clown? And it's all very telegraphed. And then after he stabs him, he's just like maniacally laughing. And I thought, oh, okay, so this is implying that this is the Joker, or at least a new Joker. And then they just firmly just like put like a full stop at the end of it, where you see him in the background take the knife and randomly give himself the Joker smile. What do they call
Chelsea
it?
grin.
Yeah, that's it. And I thought, oh, so not only are we doing the Joker, we're also harping off more of the Heath Ledger Joker with, you want to know how I got these scars? That's a Joker that everyone remembers. Everyone remembers that line. So let's give him that one. I'm like, I want to say that's the only Joker that's done that. At least in terms of the movies, maybe in the comic books, that's been a thing as well.
Yeah, I think it was the first. I feel like there's been one or two in the comics based off it.
Yeah,
that was definitely
And we also get another villain origin story in a way, in the form of Harvey Dent in this movie. So when I mentioned to you that there's a greater Batman character, like in the Batman world, it was Harvey Dent that I was referring to.
He did not feel like Harvey Dent though.
No,
he was like there, and it's like they just called him Harvey Dent. But that wasn't the worst thing, only because it's like it's not supposed to be this big Batman movie. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't the worst thing, but it did feel like he was just caked in there for sake of it.
Yeah,
you know.
And we see him in the courtroom, and this is where I thought it was going, because then they allow Joker to be his own. Oh, what is it? Be his own defense. Is that it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, because he fired his lawyer.
And he rocks up in full clown makeup, and the judge says, like, I couldn't deny, you know, he wanted to dress this way. And this is where I was thinking this has got to all be in his head, because this would never happen in an actual court of law. They would never allow for this. But he rocks up in his full Joker outfit. And I thought because how in the comic books, or at least one iteration of how Harvey Dent becomes Two-Face is, it's either Maroni or Falcone or someone related to that family.
Two, yes.
Throws acid in his face. And honestly, out of all the origin stories in the films that we've had for Two-Face, Batman Forever got it right with Tommy Lee Jones. You see a little bit of a news footage of him getting the acid.
Isn't it like overly green though, or something weird? It's like over the top.
I can't remember, but it's meant to be a news report, and I'm like, how are you getting all these camera angles of like Batman like jumped to save Harvey Dent? But you know, it's all really theatrical. I thought they were going to do something where the Joker was going to have like a flower on or something, or he was. I thought we were going to have this movie's equivalent of the "you get what you fucking deserve" scene, where it took everyone by surprise in that first movie with a gunshot, and I thought he was going to like chuck acid in Harvey Dent's face, and that's how he was going to get it. What happens is that during the hearing, right after he's declared guilty by the jury, there's this huge explosion that completely takes out, conveniently, everyone in the courtroom apart from Arthur. We see some people stumbling around, but in that moment, like, everyone's taken out apart from him, which feels like a really stupid plot, because we later find out that maybe it could be implied that Harley Quinn did it if she is even indeed a real character. It could be implied that it was just one of the masses that were, Joker's cronies, essentially, that are lauding him as this icon. And they were trying to free him or blow him out of there. But what if they fucking killed him in that moment?
I know, I did think that. I feel like I don't think that whole segment happened. I really don't. It was because again, it was another point of the segment. It's like he left to then go up the stairs to talk to Harley Quinn, to do nothing, to go back.
To then get kidnapped again. Yeah.
So just remove that scene, you'd be fine.
Yeah.
It was all right. It was silly.
Yeah. But I was like, yeah, what if you took him out in that explosion? Like, you've just killed your icon. Like, okay, would they have done like a Christ-like martyr kind of thing? Like, it's not about him, it's about the message that he symbolized or something.
It is a thing, right? When he said spoiled Final Fantasy VII, right? How do we differentiate what things are okay to spoil and not spoil? Only because when it comes to Darth Vader's Luke Skywalker's father, right? No one's going to be pissed that you say that. Right? It's the same with that thing in Final Fantasy VII. Like, no one's going to be, because it's such a well-known thing. When does a spoiler become a thing where it's literally just so well-known now? Like, it's not even when a movie's been out so long, because I was pissed that someone spoiled Shutter Island for me years ago, right? But that's not like a well-known fact. It was old by the time I saw it, like quite a few years. When does it? What spoilers?
That's a great point.
Yeah, what spoilers become a point where you're
because someone's always going to be watching that film for the first time.
Yeah, but like, for instance, like Star Wars, 99% of people though are going to know it before they watch it. When does a movie or a video game or a book or whatever get to that stage? What are other things? What are other things what's another like spoiler in something that's like, well, that's okay to everyone fucking knows, it's just common news?
I guess something just has to really hit that pop culture icon kind of thing, right? In terms of a film.
Yeah, I guess I'm just trying to think of another example, because there's not a lot, but like Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker's father, that stuff. It's like there's some stuff. Jimmy Savile's a paedophile. It's a spoiler that you're watching that show and you go, by the way, fuck, it's common news by this point. So I don't know, but yeah, it's interesting. My thought process goes off.
Yeah.
But anyway.
But yeah, I thought they were going to do like the whole acid thing, but we find that Harvey Dent becomes Two-Face when this explosion takes out the side of the courtroom. The camera kind of lingers on his body as he's in complete shell shock from the explosion, and we see that it's devastated the side of his face, and that's it.
But see, right, it says that I wouldn't intentionally, but this is the thing again. No one, if you're interviewing, let's say you're interviewing Mark Hamill, right, for Force Awakens or something, let's say, and he's doing an interview. People are watching that. No one's going to sit there and not talk about Darth Vader being Luke Skywalker's father. They're always going to say it. People watching that are going to be Star Wars fans, and it's like, but where can you talk? Where are you allowed to? By this point, I might just start spoiling everything and go, well, I just thought it was common knowledge by now. It's been out of day. I don't know.
I remember. It's funny you mentioned that. I remember being really the whole Han Solo dying at the end of Force Awakens thing. I didn't know how long I had to wait before I could mention that after it was done. Like, The Last Jedi came out like the following, was it 2 years after that? And I still felt weird about saying, Han Solo. I was like, can I still say this?
Well, it's the thing,
you know what I
mean? He says,
like,
what was it, 10 years? And it's like, but not always though, because I think, how long has Shutter Island been out? When did it come out?
Oh, God. You're going to ask me to type now with a keyboard that I don't have.
Shutter Island came out...
2010.
Okay, I watched it 3 years after it came out. But even now, it's not common knowledge, though, is it? So I guess no. Yeah. I mean, that movie is a great movie.
He says here, Planet of the Apes twist ending is another example that everyone knows. Yeah.
Right. Here's an example of, don't know, never actually seen Planet of the Apes. So I don't actually know.
You do know how it ends, don't you?
No.
Do you actually know?
No, I don't.
Fuck.
No, I don't. So this is the thing. But like he says, like everyone knows it.
You never heard
it's
that.
weird though, isn't it? Like I'm just thinking.
You've never heard that. You blew it up. Damn you all to hell. You never heard that.
Nope.
Oh shit! Okay.
Even that doesn't really say anything to me because I've never watched them. But it's just it's weird, isn't it? But like you say, it's common knowledge. But then again, I guess if I was to watch interviews, I guess people would just be talking about it. I guess it would be common knowledge by that point because it's like, as any interview about Star Wars, mentioned Darth Vader being Luke Skywalker's father will probably be mentioned at some point. So it is. I don't know. I'll just steer clear of interviews about it as well. Then.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yes, they were. I've got the original Planet of the Apes up there somewhere.
What is it? The first one?
Yeah, the original. Yeah, like 1960
There's a twist ending.
Something. Yeah.
I might have to watch it just to guess what it is. I'm usually quite good at getting them.
It's a good movie. It's a very good movie.
Speaking of getting them, Inception, like for instance, I kind of understood what was going on in that, and I remember that was a big thing. This though, not so much, just because it didn't really. I don't think even the people making it knew what was real and what wasn't. They just went, just a bit ambiguous, isn't it? It's like, cool. Like
they're trying so hard to do the whole like American Psycho thing, aren't they? Of you can have so many different reads on the film, but that actually works for that movie, I feel. Whereas this one, it just felt very slapped together.
That's what I mean. It's kind of like mystery and stuff. It works when even the creator doesn't have to fully know. They go, oh, it could be this, or it could be this. They've got an idea in their head, kind of what works. You've got an idea in yours, and that's fine. It's kind of like you say, the first one, or Force Awakens, for instance. Like J.D. Abrams got like, right, so it can go in this direction, go in this direction. He hands it over to someone, goes, right, you do with that what you will. But you've got to have directions. This was just like, well, we have an idea where things could be in his head, so let's just throw a load of shit in there and go, well, you don't know what's real. And it's like you need a bit more of a direction than that. And yes, you can have 6 or 7 conclusions that anyone could come to, but you've got to have a direction of where you want to go. It's like writing a song. A song could be about anything the person listening to it thinks about, but the person writing's got to have some direction. If you just put loads of random words together and go, love, I die, what, parrot, and you're like, what? You know what I mean? It doesn't have a direction. You've got to have somewhere you're going. So yeah, I don't know. It was a mess.
And if you do break it down to the fact that, oh yeah, it is all in their head and none of it was real, it's just like, well, what was the fucking point of the movie then? That'd be like, oh yeah, it was all a dream. I'd be like,
do you know what? In a way, when Harry Potter ended, I was really kind of hoping. I mean, I loved it when I was great. Like, it was my favorite thing ever. So I didn't hope it because I know it would have ruined it. But at the same time, I was like, I really just hope she just ruins it for everyone. Because it's the kind of thing I would do. I'd sit there and I'd go, this isn't how it ends. But for everyone else, it fucking is. And I would just write it and go, there you go. And everyone would fucking hate it. I'd be like, I don't care, I made $1 billion off it, so fuck you. It would be amazing. But
so Harley Quinn in this movie, are we saying that she was real, but her presence in the movie was heightened somewhat? Or do we think that she is a complete figment of his imagination?
To be fair, now thinking about it, I don't think she was, because when she burns down the place, when she goes to escape and the walking out doing that, it was all very like, but that wouldn't happen. A character wouldn't do that. Yeah. You know, burning the place down, part of me was like, I kind of forgave her, but kind of forgave it in the sense of thought, okay, there's a possibility no one kind of found out it was her or something, which wouldn't happen in a police station, but you know, it's supposed to be a timeless world and all that. Cool. But when she started breaking out, it was like, and then just, oh, she left. It's like, why would she get to leave after, you know, regardless whether she, you know, put herself in the asylum, you know, but, and then doing that, I was like, but a character, it was just, there was too many things to say, but a character wouldn't do that if she was real. One thing I did like, and this is one reason I kind of liked the idea of her being there, was when she said, when it's, oh, well, she's like, I burnt my house down. And then you find out it's like, oh no, she admitted herself here. And it was like, oh, because I wanted to meet you. It's like, you could have wrote a letter. And she'd be like, oh, I'd be some nobody. And I sat there and I thought, you know what? That's actually a good idea, because the amount of people like Jeffrey Dahmer and what's the other guy called?
Bundy.
That's it, Ted Bundy. Fucking forgetting everyone's names now. But yeah, Ted Bundy. They get love letters from fans and stuff all the time. They you know, they always got that kind of shit. But when did someone ever admit themselves to the? You can't admit yourself to a prison, I guess. But you know, when I guess things like that. But I thought, you know what, that's a good way to meet him. So I like that. But then find out it's like, but maybe she's not real. It's like, you know what? I thought that was kind of clever though. So it's a bit sad that she's not real. And I feel like as well, he's not a very clever character. He's not. And to have him think up a character but do that is a bit far-fetched.
I think she was a complete figment of his imagination, to be honest, all the way throughout. There are some scenes again where it's that ambiguity where she sets fire to the music room or to the piano. They make their escape. They both get landed on a newspaper. And that's where they mention that, oh, this is Harleen Quinzel, blah blah blah. This is her history. But then when you get to the end, so the bomb goes off, and as I said, like, how do his followers not know that they could have killed Joker there and then through that explosion? But he makes it out. A passerby who happens to be one of his biggest fans says, like, right, we're going to get you away. We're going to try and take you away from it. Again, very similar to the ending of the first one, where you had those two. They lay him on like the bonnet of the police car, don't they? Where they pull him out of the police car wreck from the first movie, and they take him away. And then he's freaking out. He doesn't want to be this Joker icon anymore. So he gets out of the car and he starts running away. Very similar to the events of the first movie again, where he's running through the street, and he makes it to the staircase, and he's walking up the staircase, probably in effect of he wants to become Arthur again, because when he descended the staircase, that's where he made his transition into Joker. Every day when he walked up that staircase, he was Arthur Fleck.
Why would you want to become Arthur Fleck again? Just be the fucking Joker. Why would you want to?
And then Harley Quinn's there, sat on the stairs in makeup and everything, sort of halfway up the stairs, almost like you can either choose this path or you can choose this path kind of thing, I guess. And it's like, well, how would she know that he was heading that way? How does she know, number one, that he survived the explosion, number two, that the people that picked him up in the car were heading to that part of town, and number three, that he'd make his way to those staircases? So I think it's all in his head, and that was like the final goodbye. That was like, no, I can still be Joker, I think. And she's like, no, you can't be. You're not the Joker. You admitted that, and that was like the last haven of what could have been as him as Joker disappearing. And then she's pretty much out the movie. You don't even, once the police rock up, you don't see her sort of like look back over her shoulder or anything. I think that implies that it's all in his head.
Because he's told you cut your hair. You barely see her hair.
Yeah.
She's in the corner of the screen. I thought she looks like she's cut her hair, but you can't really see it. Like, it's so weird. It's like, why pick up on it? Why make it happen if it's not, you're not even going to show it? Again, it's another example. Do you know what you want to do with this movie? Yeah. Or are you just kind of doing things and going, we'll see where it takes me?
I genuinely believe that's the case, yeah. Because then there's other scenes, like, as I mentioned, any scene where Harley Quinn's in the movie away from the action, where we cut exclusive to her, that's where it becomes a problem for me. I think she should just be on screen with Arthur. Because there's a random scene where she watches him sing to her when he's I can't remember, he's on like, it's the Steve Coogan scene, isn't it, where he starts randomly singing into the camera, and she sees this, she's on the high street, and she sees a TV store, and she just smashes the window and steals the TV. I'm like,
she wasn't real, but it was just, she did, it's the way she got into prison. I did like that, and I thought that would have been good for an actual real character, but it was just, she was so empty. She was so pointless. She was such a pointless character. What was the purpose of being there?
And she never calls him Puddin' at any point.
Yeah, there is that as well. That's diabolical.
She calls him Honey, I think, at some point, doesn't she? Or something.
Why did they not just utilize the word pudding just because?
Yeah, just throw it.
Yeah, it's like that was a big opportunity missed.
There was one point, and this is me reaching, and I almost guarantee that this was probably not an intention of the director or anything. There's a scene where they're driving back to Arkham Asylum to take the Joker back.
Which is called Arkham City Hospital, isn't it?
Oh, is it? Is it not Arkham Asylum?
No, it's called Arkham Hospital. Because that's what it's called in the first one. And I had a problem with that, thinking, why don't we just call it Arkham Asylum? I kind of get the whole, because it sounds more real, but it just felt, or at least maybe we used to call it Asylum or something, but there was no, it's like when they called the place New York in this, like they referenced it as Gotham, but they said the state of New York, so Gotham is in New York, so people are not meant to, I mean, I could be wrong, but I'm 99.9% sure we don't know, we probably know whereabouts Gotham is, but it's not supposed to be, it's in New York, it's this, the whole idea, it's just a fictional place, but it's the state of New York, it's like, but it's not supposed, it just, she's against the city of Gotham, that's it.
Just, it's its own thing, I agree. But yeah, they're taking him back to Arkham State Hospital. Yeah, that's terrible. They're taking him back to Arkham Asylum, and Dancing in the Moonlight starts playing the song. and I was thinking, do you ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight? I thought, is that a Joker reference to like the 1989 one? A little bit. I was like, probably not. Almost certainly,
They should have had
probably
You
not.
Want to Get Nuts. They should have.
You want to get nuts? Go on. Let's get nuts.
Home on the Range did that.
They did.
Home on the Range was a better movie, wasn't it? Really?
They did.
Because of that.
They got Michael Keaton to say that line again in The Flash.
I
Bet he never thought he'd have to do that again.
Yeah, I bet he was there going, really? Sure. Why not?
Brinsley, in regards to Harley Quinn's character, says it's very ambiguous. I'd say she is real, but definitely lied about being pregnant. Yeah, what was that? That was like that storyline from the Arkham games. Do you remember that? Where was it in the DLC, Harley's Revenge or something, set after Arkham City? And you go to, there's like a crib, and there's like a no. In actual Arkham City, there's a pregnancy test on the floor that said positive, and everyone was going, "Oh my god, it's going to be Son of Joker in the sequel game," and then the Harley's Revenge DLC came out, and you go back to that same room, and there's like hundreds of pregnancy tests all scattered on the floor that all say negative. So it was a false positive, and she's kind of gone insane from that.
Do you know what I wish?
Oh no, I know what you're gonna say because I know you too well.
I just wish that in Harley's Revenge he had like a crib and she poured out this stillborn child. I just wish there was something like that. It would have been great. And then I think that would have been amazing. But we didn't get that.
No,
this is why I should make Batman games.
No, no,
it would have been great.
Fucking hell. Oh, what are the spoilers?
And then Killer Croc eats it because he's kind of. Yeah, what are the spoilers?
What are the spoilers?
What happened in this movie?
We've talked about Joker dying. We've talked about Harley Quinn being in the movie. Any favorite scenes?
No.
Would you say there was a favorite scene, favorite moment?
No. My favorite. Well, I say favorite. I did like the. So you know where she's wearing the yellow dress and she calls him honey and they're doing their own show. I like that. I did like that whole thing.
They give the people what they want. Scene. Yeah.
When she turned the gun on him, then she shot him. Then suddenly nothing had happened. It felt very like, what was the point? Again, what was the point? So many things are. What was the point? But I did like that, and I like how Lady Gaga was able to project her voice. I like how they both looked, how they danced. The chemistry there was cool.
Yeah,
chemistry in the rest was shit. But the animated sequence at the beginning, I liked that it opened with that. It wasn't a good animated sequence. It was a terrible animated sequence, but I liked that it opened with one. I thought that was actually quite an interesting way to start. And the animation style was cool.
We had a comment about the animated segment earlier. Let me just try and find it real quick. Describing it as a little bit on the nose. Let me find it. Here we go. Bath Time says the cartoon at the start was fun, but so on the nose about the Jungian concept of the shadow. It was basically literal.
The thing is, and I just don't think it was executed well at all. It was just like the place at the end where they beat him like a black man, like a proper, like, that famous, thing where the American police. It was kind of like it was animated well, but it felt kind of like you say a bit on the nose of just like, okay, cool, when it just wasn't that interesting, like him pulling his shadow and then his shadow was singing and it was like, okay, cool. It wasn't that interesting. They could have done something cool with that. They could have done something really cool, with the blood and it turns into the curtain. I thought that was kind of cool. But they could have done something cool, and they just didn't. The cool thing about an animated sequence is you're more freedom to do stuff. That's why they went, in Kill Bill, where they did the anime sequence, because they could showcase, like, a child then killing someone with a sword and stuff on a proper. That was cool. So you could do more. But they just, it just wasn't executed well. It just wasn't entertaining, really.
Yeah. The music in this I thought was a bit lackluster as well. I mean, I think the original won the Academy Award for Best Original Score, didn't it? You've got Hilda Gudnadottir, I think is how you say her name.
Hilda.
Great.
My nan's name's Hilda.
It's not Gudnadottir.
No, but her name is Hilda.
Hilda. The music in the first film was very haunting, but like that cello, very somber, and those moments where he does like the interpretive dance.
It's the theme music that was in the original, very great. That was great, and it was utilized well in this as well.
It was. I guess I just wasn't aware of it as much in this.
But
film.
that's because there was
Is it
so
the
there was
musical
a mess
numbers?
of musical numbers, and then stuff like That's Life playing that was like that then overshadowed the musical numbers.
Yeah.
But the musical numbers overshadowed the score, and it was just
Yeah.
it was a mess. That's the thing. It was just a mess. And I feel like I can't say enough about how this movie was pointless and a mess.
I'm very disappointed in this movie. You don't have was it Bananarama? Robert De Niro's waiting. You heard that song?
No.
Robert De Niro's waiting, talking Italian. No.
But
Robert De Niro's in the first movie. We could have had
No,
that.
I know that.
That'd be great. I think I've pretty much said everything I can on Joker Folie, to be honest.
The acting was good. From
Yes.
Joaquin Phoenix, from Brendan Gleeson, from Steve Coogan, just because he's great, not because he did anything really. And I didn't like the American accent, but the fact that we got him in it was cool.
I hated that we had to suffer through Joaquin Phoenix talk singing though. But then again, like Lady Gaga did that whispery kind of talk singing. That's a directorial fault. That was a choice.
The midget was cool. He was a good actor.
Yes, he was. He was the best thing.
Yeah, Lady Gaga was good, but it wasn't groundbreaking. It was just she was good at what she did.
Yeah,
and you know, it was a good performance. It was, but I've just seen her do better. Like it was just one of them. It's like, you know, when you see someone great do something that you're like, yeah, I've seen you do better though. Like it was just that, and the chemistry between them. That's what let it down. The chemistry between them was shit. Her character was so rushed. And so, like, kind of fell in love with him too quickly. Again, it's probably why, you know, she wasn't real because it was just there already. And that made the chemistry really bad and just made it, again, pointless. If I saw this movie in one word, it'd be fucking pointless. 2 words, but now it's one. Pointless.
I want to make an edit of this movie. I've decided when this gets released, I want to try and make an edit of this movie. And I was watching it in mind of that. When the first musical number opened up and it's Joaquin Phoenix larger than life singing amongst all the inmates, and then it hard cuts and he's just watching the TV again and nothing's changed. I thought, well, you could very easily just cut that out and remove it. Honestly, removing the musical segments of this film does not change this film at all. In fact, personally, I think it would improve it. I don't think we get any kind of deeper insight to the character that we don't already know through dialogue and through acting choices throughout the film. I think the music actually bogs it down. I think it slows the pacing down. As you said, I think it conflicts with the score and where our focus should be. I don't think the musical segments are particularly memorable or good or sang particularly well for the most part. There's some ones where Lady Gaga lets loose and she's rocking it out on the dual pianos and everything, and that's really cool. But yeah, utterly pointless. So I think removing this is how I would go about an edit, and I probably need to watch it again in preparation. I'd remove all of the musical segments, as many as I can. I could probably do all of them, and then any scenes that are, you know, when they're escaping the prison and the searchlights are on them and whatnot and the fire's raging. I know they're singing as they run, but I think you could probably cut around that and just have the Hilda score underneath it. I think that would still work. And I'd remove all of the Harley Quinn scenes when it just focuses on her, and I would only have her present in the movie every time that Arthur's on screen. I think that's how I'd go about an edit. Well, I don't know if I'd remove the animated segment at the beginning.
I like it. It was just not it wasn't a good animated sequence.
It felt a bit gimmicky. I don't know if it's part of that like artsy fartsy thing.
But I like to open with it because it's similar to how the first one opened, like a positive, quite. Not that it didn't know what it wanted to be, but very sort of like you didn't really know, because the logo was in yellow. It was cool, and then they was running, and it was funny because it's kind of like this. Like the Joker's a clown, but he's a murderous psychopath. It's like a kind of that. What's it called when something is opposite to what it is?
Different.
No, you know, when something's opposite to what it is, like, you know, like a sad clown. You know, because
an oxymoron.
I guess,
yeah.
I
Paradox.
It might be. I think it's a paradox, yeah. But anyway, you know, like that, like a sad clown. Like the Joker is this sadistic, but he's a clown, and it's like they're kind of funny. It's like that. There was a John Wayne Gacy was a clown, and he like killed, you know, children or whatever it was, and it's that whole different thing. And it's like this. It's like you already know the Joker's killed people, and he is a, you know, psychopath. But it opens with like a cartoon, and then he gets beaten and there's loads of blood, and you're like, I like that imagery. I just thought the animated sequence itself just wasn't great.
I thought it was going to like segue into the live action there, where all the police were beating him. I thought it was going to like snap into reality, and it was going to be the same angle of him getting beaten by them.
I liked where it went into the red with the curtain. I thought that was kind of cool. And then I swear, maybe this was just my eyes playing tricks on me. I don't know. But when the curtains open and then it went in, it had Arkham Asylum there. I swear, as I say, I could be wrong, but it was a cartoon at first and slowly blended into real life. But I don't know, because I did think that and I went,
I can't remember.
I don't know. But if that wasn't the case, that's what they should have done, because in my mind, it looked fucking cool.
So here's the question. Would you keep the ending the same way, where he goes back to Arkham and he's killed at the end, or would you end it sooner, or would you have like a different ending shot of the film?
Personally, doesn't fucking matter. Like, I'm not even joking, and that's not me being awkward. It really doesn't. Whether that happened or not at the end, it would have been just as bad of an ending, because if that didn't happen, not that I would have done this, but like, he walks off and he's like, I can tell you a joke. He would have said it, that would have happened, and suddenly it straps back to it, and suddenly he's actually like, he just imagined that in his head, him being killed, and then he walks off, and then it's him, similar sort of shot to the first one, you walk and you see the blood on his feet, and you're like, something like that maybe, but that might just be because in my head, that's kind of where I thought it was going to head. But like I say, it's such a confusing movie that I don't really even know where I'd end it to save it, really. I still literally left that movie thinking, what happened at the end?
Yeah,
it was a mess. It was just, I didn't get it.
I would almost, if I was going to do like an alternate edit to it, maybe I would remove the ending scene from the first Joker movie where he says, I was thinking of a joke, you didn't get it.
And that's it.
My final ending shot of the first movie would be where he does the blood smile, turns to the crowd, and and then cut to credits. That's it. And I would take that ending scene, and I would probably remove the scene of him dying in this movie and move that ending from the first film to this one. So he gets sent back to Arkham, and then you just hear him laughing, and then it cuts to that. I was thinking of a joke, you wouldn't get it, and then. But then it's the whole thing that he's abandoning the Joker and becoming Arthur, and if he's laughing like that, then it's...
I don't know why you don't want to abandon the Joker. It just seemed pointless to me. It's like, you've got to follow him. Cool, go with it.
Yeah, I don't know. I am interested in doing an edit, though, just purely to see if my opinion changes or if I think it's a much more, enjoyable film without those musical segments, because they really did fuck me off, to be honest, after a certain point. Very quickly. As soon as we got the first one, I thought, oh, no. And then, they were all very samey, weren't they? Suffice it to say, I didn't like this movie at all. No. To me, this is another prime example of sometimes you should just leave well enough alone. The first Joker movie was a brilliant standalone. I think it set out with a certain vision in mind, and I think it achieved it very, very well. This just screams to me that the only reason this film exists is because of how much money the first movie made. This one, the budget was completely inflated to like well over 200 million, which it absolutely doesn't need to be. As we say, a lot of that's probably gone on the salaries for a lot of the actors within this film. I think it failed as a musical. I think it failed to sort of capture the imagination and to really offer as many talking points as the first film did. And I think the first film will continue to do. I was going to mention this as like the final thoughts, actually. With how negative this film's going over with a lot of people, I think someone mentioned earlier it's currently sitting around 35% on Rotten Tomatoes, and the audience score is pretty much level with that. Do you think the negative impact of this film is going to have a knock-on effect to that original movie still, in terms of the legacy of that first movie and how well-loved that first movie is? Do you think people might go back to that first film and be a bit more critical of it now based on this?
I don't think so, because I think it was that pointless. I look at it and go, the first one was good. It's nothing happened after that. That's the way I'd see it. So I don't really think so. And it happened long enough ago, and it's such a standalone movie. It doesn't change anything. It's not like, let's say they made a sequel and you find out about his father and you do this and it has a backstory. It'd be like, then maybe, because you change things, it might change the way you see certain things, but it didn't do that. It was just a thing that happened afterwards. So like, what was the point in seeing that? Yeah. It's kind of like, imagine after Dark Knight, because Dark Knight Returns didn't happen. Imagine after Dark Knight, there was a movie and you see an older Bruce Wayne walking his dog. You'd be like, why do I care about that? Like
Yeah.
it would
Yeah.
be like that, and it's like it doesn't hinder it. Like cool. I mean, obviously because at the end of Dark Knight, is it like kind of you don't know what happened to him? No, that's at the end of Dark Knight Rises, isn't it?
To which character? Sorry?
No, yeah, think about Bruce Wayne, but no, you don't know what happened to him at the end of Dark Knight Rises. You don't know what happened to the Joker. That's what it is. But yeah. So aside from knowing where he is when he's older, it's like well, it wouldn't really impact. You just like I'll just pretend I didn't say that. Mm-hmm. I don't think it has enough impact. I think it will still stay the great movie it was. But yeah, it was pointless.
I think a musical could have been done well. Personally, with the tone that the first Joker movie set, I wouldn't have done a musical for this. I think that was a wrong decision, but I don't think it was a completely damning decision. I think it was just how it could have been handled. As I mentioned, I listed a couple of examples of big musical flamboyant numbers in the Batman universe, which I think work well. And it's all about tone and it's all about how you handle it. And I just don't think they did it at all well for this one. So yeah, this was an arduous one to get through over 2.5 hours. It did feel like it was a completely pointless experience, and also just sort of I remember when we came out of that first one, and we were stood by the train station, and we had a good old chinwag about that movie, talking about how we loved it, and we even had like when we were watching the movie in the cinema, people around us probably hated us, but we were talking about it, and the bit where he does the blood smile, we knew he was gearing up to do that, and we were like, yes, do it. Yeah. And then he did it, and there were moments in that film where we laughed with it. We felt the tension of certain scenes. The get what you fucking deserve and the gun going off was shocking. This film, I was sat like this, and I was like, Joaquin Phoenix is singing the 5th number in the movie. I'm like, oh god.
I've always been under the impression that the Joker's smile should always be blood. I've always been under that impression.
Mm-hmm.
That it should always be, it should always be sort of done with blood. I'm always under that sort of impression. I think that would, do you know what I would love to see as well? nothing grim, nothing grim. But like, so like you've got in like the Arkham games, you see him put on lipstick, and it's in City, isn't it? Yeah, you see him. He's put on a lipstick and stuff. I think this would have been cool. You might say it's too much because in some ways it could have been, but this is how I've always seen his sort of face. So when he's doing that, instead of putting on lipstick, like he's talking to Batman, he's got like a knife, and you see him just like kind of like slice Harley Quinn's like arm a little bit and just kind of wipe it like that. I've always seen it like that, like a kind of not her blood essentially, but it's always just been blood and it's kind of sinister. That's the way I've always seen it, and I always thought that's quite good imagery.
Yeah.
If I was to do a movie or a story about the Joker, I'd have him do that, cut her, and just. That'd be sick. That'd be so cool.
Jesus, she didn't look looking like Doctor.
She would. Her arms would be like his ass. That's what it'll be.
Say Doctor's ass, like he's been fucking promoted.
Dr. Zaz, or maybe we could go woke with it. Harley Quinn is actually Zaz because she's actually she's actually trans, whatever they call these days, and she's actually a guy, and they're the same person, and he cuts her, and that's where she gets the scars from. But there's maybe we could do that. That would be a thing.
Oh shit.
That's such a good idea for a woke version.
You've given them ideas now.
Woke Batman.
Well, the Joker has been pregnant with like a mud monster, so that doesn't sound as far fetched, to be honest. Doing that.
I mean, remember Night when the Joker had loads of clones? Remember that?
It doesn't even make any sense because the blood was like shipped to like every hospital, so there are like 1 million Joker clones out there.
Yeah, it was.
And it was the thing is as well, like his blood wasn't the fact that it turned you into the Joker. It was because his blood was like fucking cancerous and like you would die from it. That was the whole point, right?
Yeah.
And he was going to kill millions, not that only some people would turn into Joker clones just because they've got his blood. Oh god,
it was.
Arkham Knight was so fucking bad. It was so bad.
If they had taken away the Batmobile because it was shit, and they'd just gone on the fact of like the Joker's done, let's do someone else completely. Could have been all right. It would have been shit because you had a great ending on City. That should have just ended it. And also Origins used all the villains that we wanted to see anyway. So we're like, we don't need to see any more.
Yeah.
But all I'm saying is you could have had an okay game.
Get rid of those fucking tank battles and actually have some boss battles in there. My God.
I hated the tank battles because I actually liked one tank battle. Like I liked doing one. I thought that was cool. And then I'm like, why am I on number 40? And then I got to the end of the game and it was a big tank battle. And then it ended. I went, oh, was that the... Didn't stand out to me at all
Yeah.
because we've done so many of them.
Do you remember when you have a boss battle with Deathstroke and he's in a tank?
Yeah, I know. I think if you could have had the Batmobile and you could have had it as a tank, do that kind of stuff. Yeah, but don't do it all the time. Don't have it go up on the wall for the puzzles. Just have it as a ways of getting from what A to B in the city. That's cool. That's fun. That's cool. And also return the Batcave from Origins. You know, you can fight. That was cool. Return that. That was awesome. But we didn't get that, and I got really upset. But the design of Gotham City and the darkness of like where like Oracle shoots herself up, that was cool. I like the dark imagery of that. I'll always stand by that.
Yeah.
The character redesigns didn't make sense though. Like Riddler. Why did Riddler look the way he did? Why did he look like a feral teenager? You know, Penguin wasn't too different, but they proper went with the bold football loving pub like gangster kind of thing. They already had enough of that. They didn't need to go, right, let's go 200%. It's like, we got it. We got what you were doing. It was good.
Scarecrow got a redesign. Killer Croc was ridiculous. My God,
Scarecrow's, again, it was shit because it was like you've already had a design, but that original design wouldn't have carried its own game. It made sense for that, but it just, the redesign was just like, well, why is he redesigned? But Killer Croc, yeah, that was fucking awful.
They do explain that in the game though, don't they? They say that he was experimented on and like tortured, and the experimentation heightened his mutation, which apparently turned him into like a 20-foot tall Godzilla monster with a tail.
I'm going to go to a lab if it gives me a tail. Like, why not? Like, he's like, I haven't played Arkham Knight. Don't. There's no point.
It ended with City, in our opinion.
There's no point playing it. Like, it's annoying as well.
The looks very nice.
It does.
Graphically, it's very ahead of its time. It looks phenomenal, even still.
That's what I mean. The character designs are cool. It's just the redesigns. Like, you could have made those characters a little bit like it was the redesigns that I didn't like.
It reminds me of the animated series because you have 4 volumes of Batman the Animated Series, 3 seasons where they all have like that consistent overall look, and then the new designs that they did for Volume 4 because it tied in with the Superman and Justice League.
Yeah, where Scarecrow's like got like a chain. I can't remember it now.
A noose. He's like a kind of preacher, like a Western preacher
it's like a
kind of
weird
thing.
Like. Yeah, one's designed like a Scarecrow's in Injustice 2. He's got like a hook thing, and he's like throws it at you, and he pulls people, like goes straight into their back, and he pulls them back. I was like, that's cool. That's a cool design of Scarecrow. But yeah,
right then, I think we'll probably round it off there. I think for our review on Joker. So suffice to say, we didn't enjoy it. I'm actually trying to think of other films that are coming out this year, big films, and
Wicked.
I'm not going to go.
I'm going to see Wicked.
I'm not going to go and see Wicked.
I'm going to be so happy.
Do people want to see a review of Wicked? I mean, do. If you're going, I'll probably tag along. I don't know anything about Wicked, so it'll be a first time. I really don't want to see it. So this might be the last sort of big movie. There's a lot of films from this year that I haven't seen yet that I still need to catch up on. The new Beetlejuice movie. I still haven't seen Deadpool.
You do realise through Wicked, though, I'm not going to have a clue about anything when Ariana Grande is not on screen. I'm going to switch off so much. But there she is. It's like, what happened in that? I was like, I don't know. I'm just looking at her every play. I
don't think I can do Wicked. I really don't think I can.
I could do Ariana Grande.
But we will still have a lot of streams coming out. As I say, we've got Meet the Robinsons, our new Disney review on Monday, and one more trip to the cinema for Return of the Jedi on Tuesday. So that's going to be really fun. We're going to finish off the Star Wars saga because it is only 6 movies, arguably 3, but could possibly extend to 6. So this has been a fun review tonight. I feel like I'm all jokered out for today and probably forever. At this
forever, like Batman Forever.
Oh, Brinsley says Gladiator 2. That trailer looks really fucking bad. It looks really bad. Maybe I'll probably go and see it just out of morbid curiosity. If you guys want to see a review for it, if you guys want to see one, I'll try and get myself to it when it comes out. I think it's a few weeks away, isn't it? And I'll have a video on it because it would be good to get back to sort of like the big
sequels that don't need to happen.
Exactly. More sequels that don't need to happen. I just want to go to the cinema and enjoy a film, which I will do on Tuesday when I see Return of the Jedi. But yeah. Anyway, a big thank you to everyone that's tuned in tonight, shared your opinions on the movie, and just kept us company and kept the conversation going. We always appreciate you guys. Oh my God, it's 12:15. Jesus Christ. Enjoy the rest of your night, guys, and we'll catch you soon on the next video. Take care, everyone.